close the doors of your mind, close the gates of your mind, close the gates of your palace, your ba'ith, your ahal, your ohel, your tent, your mishkan, your mikdash, your hayikal, in your sentient self and in your body that you dwell inside. And bring your mind to center, bring your mind to balance to Yahuwah Elohim, to his Ben Yahusha, who sits in the highest Shamayim, above the 13th Shamayim, above all Elohims and all gods. Bring your mind to attention to the one of serenity, the one of tranquility, the one of life, Kaya, Kai, and Kaya, within him to give to you. For today is the day of freedom. Today is the day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has given to us as an opportunity to understand him as the Elohim who pardons, the one who gives life and understanding, and the one who is slow to anger and withholds his anger, that one may be able to tashu, and may be able to repent in all the four corners of the earth. For today we acknowledge him, Yahuwah Elohim, who made the highest Shamayim, the one who established the ends of the earth with his breath, with his dabar, with his voice, with his kol, and allowed everything to come into being, male and female, man and woman, Zakar Nakabah, that the two may become one and produce righteous seed in the earth. Whether it's the seeds that you sow out of your mind, sow out of your mouth, or it's the seeds that come from between someone's feet. For these things must continue on as a light, even as the production of the earth and everything that's in it. So as we move forward in the truth of the 364-day cycle, according to the 7 celestial circles, according to the summer and winter, according to the understanding, the Bina Hamada'ath of the Qahalath Yark, knowing that this life within ourselves is undeserving, and it's only given to us for a specific time, and that time is now. Right, so this is the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 12, Midbar, Numbers chapter 12 and verse 1. Numbers chapter 12 and verse 1. Numbers chapter 12, verse 1. It says, and Marim and Aharon spoke against Moshe. So they had a brother and sister speaking against Moshe because of the Cushite woman he married. Right? The Cushite woman that was given to him. Right? That he didn't touch. Right? But guess what? And they said, has Yahuwah indeed spoken only through Moshe? Why? Because they're looking at a fault, something that they can deem as something that's wrong with him or wrong in his life, so they can now say some things to him that may be an offense to him or trying to offend him. Why? Because of the things that he's doing in his own life. Because see, when you're not focused on yourself and you're not focused on who you are as an individual, you'll be focused on other people and you end up making a mistake, because then you're going to make a mistake in your life and you're going to see shaitan in your own mind. And these are all part of why he says, I need you to do it. I have another kafar in the second month. I have another Pasach in the second month. And in that second month, you know what? If you didn't cleanse yourself according, you didn't get all the ayol out of your tent, your tumah, you didn't get all the tameh out of you, and all the things within yourself, I'm going to pardon you. Right? But it says right here, and they said, has Yahuwah indeed spoken only through Moshe? Has he not spoken through us also? Yes, he has. He's speaking to every single one of us. He's spoken through everybody. But at the same time, you need to focus on yourself. You need to focus on the individual person you are and work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Because you're going to mess up. Because all these things create Satan, Shaitan in your life, and demons. Right? Now the man Moshe was very meek, which means he was very calm, very meek, very humble, very calm, hard to get upset. It's very tough to get this person in an angry type of mode. But guess what? More than all the people who were on the face of the earth. And suddenly Yahuwah said to Moshe and to Aharon and Miriam, come out, you three. Right? So Yahuwah doesn't like when you quarreling and fighting and hatred and jealousy and envy and rivalries. He don't like that. He don't care if you are a highest leader or whatever you want to call yourself, or you are the lowest brother or the lowest sister. Right? He doesn't like that type of stuff. Come out, you three, to the tent meeting. Why? Because it's just like a parent in their home. What are your children arguing about? Right? We got a meeting. We got a house meeting today, and everybody fighting, and we got a house meeting. So what do you think second Pasach is? Guess what it says? And the three of them came out, right? Yahuwah speaking three of them. That's three witnesses, right? I got all three of them right there. And Yahuwah came down in the pillar of the cloud, because behold, he coming with clouds, and every eye gonna see him. So what do you think your judgment gonna be like? Just like this. You know how people say, I know what judgment look like. Oh, you just look right here. Behold, he come with clouds, and every eye ain't gonna see him. Those three men are Miriam, Aharon, and Mishah saw him. Behold, he come with clouds. It's judgment time. You see how fast that happened? And people say, what is Hebrews 9:27 says? He come a second time without sin. Right? It's all a part of it. And the three of them came out. And Yahuwah came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the entrance of the tent meeting, Harun and Miriam, and they both came forward. And he said, hear my words. Right? So you got to hear. Right? You got to understand Shema. If there be a Nabi among you, I, Yahuwah, will make myself known to him in a vision, a hazon, or speak with him in a dream. So understand, there are different levels to this thing. You know how people say there are levels to this truth, right? And if you reach a certain level, then you will be like, then you reach another level, he'll be like, you'll not be, right? Visions, dreams, right? And you reach another level, there's levels to it. And he don't give it to everybody. Especially if you arrogant and you prideful and you want a lot of power and you want to destroy people. He don't want nothing to do with you. But it says, I speak with him in a dream. Not so with my Abad Mashah, right? So he an Abad. He is faithful in all my house, which means he faithful in all my house. So you think about a household, or just a house in general, even if they wicked and evil, right? You got men servants, maid servants, Nishim, Isha, children, husbands, right? You got all these things inside, but then he said he faithful in all my house, right? So if he says, so this person cleans, cooks, helps, grabs, right? Do things other people don't want to do. He do everything around the house that everybody can't do, and he refuse to do. And when it's not done, he does it. He makes sure everything is complete. He makes sure everything is correct. He faithful on my house. With him, I speak mouth to mouth. He said, that's the person I'm going to be talking to. Because this person's doing everything inside of the house that you, Miriam, and Aharon are not doing. So therefore, he's doing way more than you. So therefore, I'm going to talk to him. You know how they say, I want to talk to the man of the house. Clearly, and not in riddles. And he beholds the form of Yahuwah. Why? Because in riddles, Nabi and Hazun, you got to interpret. It's not something you're just going to understand overnight. Oh man, you know what? I saw a flower flowing through the wind and it hit on a myrtle tree. And then it jumped over into the river, and I could not discern the color of the water. But it was dark, but then light sprung up. Right? That's a riddle. What you call a riddle, which means you're going to have to figure out what he just said. But he said, well, Mashah, he said, and not in riddles, and behold, it says there, with him I speak mouth to mouth clearly and not in riddles, and he beholds the form of Yahuwah. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my Abad Mashah? He said, you should be afraid because he's higher than you. He's on a higher level. That's the same way you got to think about Yahushua Mashiach. When you're in his house and he gives you a command and he tell you to do something, he say, why are you not afraid to speak against my Abad, Yahushua Mashiach? And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against them. So you think that's going to stop? Yahuwah's like, he was upset. So Yahuwah got upset. He's like, okay, I'm upset now. And when the cloud removed from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous. Now you see what judgment looked like. This is what judgment day going to look like. You know how we got judgment day? Everybody got judgment day. We all got judgment day coming. It's appointed to men once to die, and after that, Shaphat, Mishpat. And he going to come with clouds, and you going to see him just like they did. And then when Yahuwah angry get, he's just going to depart. And guess what? Lake of fire, lepers, whatever it may be, you're going to get on your life. Even now, look at these times where you say, why? And Miriam was leprous like snow. And Aharon turned toward Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. He said, why he hit the woman and not the man? How come Aharon ain't getting nothing? And Aharon said to Mashah, oh my master, oh my Yahuwah, do not punish us because we have done foolishly and have sinned. Now you see why Mashah was like, man, hey, I know our punishment coming next. Just like anything, right? Just like the garden. Who did he ask first in the garden when everybody did wrong? The woman. He said, so what did you do? The serpent deceived me. Okay, being that you did this, you're going to hit the ground. What did you do? Right? So all this all a part of your judgment day. And it says, and Aharon said to Mashah, oh, my master, do not punish us because we have done foolishly and have sinned. See, this is the part of you that you have to understand. Did Mashah say Miriam? Did he say Aaron and Miriam sinned? See, that's how humble Aydah knew Mashah was. Mashah was like, us. We did it. We sinned. We have done foolishly and have sinned. So he ain't just be like, yeah, it's just they sinned, she sinned. It was they sin, not my sin. No, Mashah was like, us. Because we have done foolishly and have sinned. Wow, what was the foolish thing they did? You think this is the foolish thing? Let me keep going. And let her not be as one dead whose flesh is half eaten away when he comes out of his mother's womb, because she was white. Because she didn't have no melanin on her skin. And Mashah cried to Yahuwah, oh Elohim, please heal her, please. You see that? Please heal her, please. That's his sister. You know that, right? That's his biological sister that happened to him. He said, please. But Yahuwah said to Mashah, if her father had but spit in her face, you see why Yahushua got spit in his face? For Miriam. Didn't they spit in his face? They took a read and they spit in his face, right? But guess what? Had her father but spit in her face, should she not have shamed 7 days? She shall not be shamed 7 days. He said, had the father not spit in her face, she should not be shamed 7 days, because she got to be 7 days in her uncleanness, right? A leprous, right? And how long is this second Chag Matzah? How long is the second Chag Matzah? 7 days. And guess what? Let her be shut outside the camp 7 days. Now you see why it tells us to go outside the camp and suffer the reproach that Yahushua did. That's why what do you think this is? And after she may be brought in again. So she get banished for 7 days just by Yahuwah sending lepers on her, because she wanted to open her mouth against Mashah and Aaron, but Aaron and Mashah were like, hold up. But then you start to see Yahuwah still didn't turn away his anger though. His punishment was still on her. Right? So Miriam was shut up outside the camp 7 days, and the people did not set out on the march till Miriam was brought in again. They said they didn't even leave. I said, we're going to leave you behind. We're going to leave you right there. You know why they did? Let me show you. You want to know why they did that? I'm going to show you why. You know why they did that? They waited for her? Let me show you. And after that, the people set out for Hezroth and then encamped in the wilderness Paran. You know why they did that? I'm going to show you why. Right? This is the book of 1 Corinthians. I'm going to show you why. People don't know this, but I'm going to show you why. All right, this is the book of Hebrews. Abri, go to Hebrews. Hebrews 12. Hebrews 12 and 12. Therefore, lift your drooping hands and strengthen your weak knees and make straight paths for your feet. Right, that's what we're doing. What do you think all this is? Perfecting Qahalath in the fear of Yahuwah. Right? That's all we're doing. So that what is lame may not be put out of joint, but rather be healed. Isn't what Mashah was praying? Please, please, Yahuwah, heal her. Didn't he say that? He said, we have sinned and we have done it foolishly. Verse 14, strive for peace with everyone. That's what they should have been doing. They should have been striving for shalom with everyone. While they were sitting in there, Miriam, Aharon, and Mashah, they shouldn't have been arguing, quarreling, and fighting. They done foolishly. That's why Mashah said, we were quarreling and fighting. Speaking unessential words that were unprofitable for the hearers, for Yahuwah's hearing. Follow peace with everyone, and for the Qahalath or Chdsh, without which no one will see Yahuwah. What do you mean no one will see Yahuwah? You won't see him in peace. You're going to see him in what? We just read. In his anger. When they said his anger was kindled against Yahuwah, right? So when Yahuwah's anger is on you, because y'all quarreling and fighting, got all these rivalries going on, he say you won't see him in peace. Behold, he come with clouds, and every eye gonna see him. And it's not gonna be, you ain't gonna see him in shalom, though. Verse 15, see to it that no one fails to obtain the kind, that no root of bitterness spring up and cause trouble, and by it many may become defiled. That's why they waited for Miriam. When she was gone outside the camp for 7 days, they waited for her, because they were making sure she don't fail. To what? To obtain the kind of Elohim. And she was defiled by leprosy. And and it says she caused trouble. They caused trouble, remember? They were quarreling and fighting. Because they were bitter. Because somebody got bitter because her name means bitter. Maureen's name means bitter. Because somebody got bitter because they felt like they should be on top. And those spirits do come around every now and then. You be like, nah, they don't come up. I said, I guess you ain't in the flesh then. You be like, that ain't never happened to me. Or, you know, Isha say that, or a man will say that. That ain't never happened to me. Yeah, it did. It has happened to you. You end up saying something about Yahuwah, and then Yahuwah be like, that's your flesh, right? I remember you only flesh, right? Verse 16, that no one, it says, see to it that no one fails to obtain the kind of Elohim, that no root of bitterness spring up and cause trouble, and by it many become defiled. And that's what happens. That no one is sexually immoral or not Qahalath like Asu, who sold his birthright for a single meal. For you know that afterward, when he desired to inherit a Barak, he was rejected. You see what happened to you with Miriam. She was thrown outside the camp. He like, you wanted a Barak, but he said you were rejected. You remember that Barak you were supposed to get like a long time ago? Guess what? No. That's how Yahuwah is. Because of your behavior. That's how he is. For he found no chance to repent, though he sought with tears. Not say, oh, he ain't getting no salvation. No, it's more based upon he was trying to get that Barak back. Man, I missed that blessing, man. That thing was almost, that thing would have put me over the top. And he sought to get it back with tears, and he couldn't get it back. Right? You know how you ever missed a Barak and you didn't get it, and then you be like, please, can I have it back? I know I messed up and missed the opportunity, please. No. Right? You know how a parent is? No. You had your opportunity to get it and you lost it. So therefore, keep going. You know what I'm saying? Keep going, right? Keep on going. Stop whining, right? You know how your parents are, right? If you ever had some good parents, right? So this is the 14th Yom of the second month. Shani Qahalath, this is the second Pasach. So we look at all these things that take place during this time. Of course, you know the month of Zu, or the Zan and the U, right? Which you know the Zan is sword, knife, wrest, law, word, perfection. It also means gathering, but also Wu means what? Join to. Join to it. Why? It's the field of flowers. That's the only way you're going to produce flowers, right? It's at the field of flowers. So you start to look at yourself, it means field of flowers. It means brightness. Just like the sun comes upon this collective plane, right? Moving toward the longest day, right? Keep that in mind, right? So it's 28 days since the 16th day of Aydah, or the 17th day on Qahalath, when Yahushua rose from the grave on the third day of Qahalath, right? He rose on the third day of Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? Don't confuse the lie with the truth. He rose on the third day of Qahalath, Feast of Unleavened Bread. And it's 27 days since Yahushua appeared in the house with his disciples and revealed himself on the fourth day of Qahalath, which was the 18th day of Qahalath, right? Then we got 19 days since Bakur waving the sheaf, right? On the 49-day count toward the 50th day, there are 30 days left, right? There are 30 days left in the count going towards the 50th day. We are now on Pasach, 13th day at evening, the 14th day in the second month, the second Pasach, right? That's what we're on. All this take place all in this time. And people say, what time? And you see why I was in the first day of the first month, you might have to go longer. Why? Because people be saying things. It's a continual practice till you get to something. This is how you attain it. Right? This is how you attain it. Right? This is Acts chapter 1 through 5. In the first book, O Theophilus, I have dealt with all that Yahushua began to do and teach until the day when he was taken up, after he had given command through the Qahalath to the Shalakim whom he had chosen. Who he was talking to, the Shalakim. He presented himself alive to them after his suffering by many proofs, appearing to them during 40 days and speaking about the Malkuth of Yahuwah. What do you mean 40 days? Because Yahushua got up from the grave. What do you think he did? You know what? Ain't forget about Bakur and waving the sheep. You think he wasn't thinking about that when he got up from the grave? Why would he not? He had to be obedient. Even when he got up from the grave, he's like, man, I was dead, now I'm alive. But I still got to keep the Torah, though. Think about that. That's what immersion is. I was immersed into his death and I resurrected. Okay, what the Torah say I got to do? That's the mindset you got to have. You know, people say, I get immersed and they I just start transgressing. They say, you ain't like Yahushua Mashiach then. Because Mashiach would die 3 days and 3 nights, rose up. Okay, what else? What the Torah say I got to do? And he was gone and started keeping the Torah. It says, and he presented himself alive to them after his suffering with many proofs, appearing to them 40 days and speaking about the Malkuth of Yahuwah. Right, that's 40 days, right? So we're in that, we're 19 days in after waving the sheep. 27 days since he appeared to his Shalakim. Right? And it says, and while staying with them, he ordered them not to depart from Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which he said, you heard from me. For your Ukanan immersed with Ma'im, right? But you will be immersed with the Kudash Ruach not many days from now. So this is a countdown. This is a countdown. This is all a countdown. We're literally on a countdown. People say, it's like NASA. You know how he says, it's like a countdown. That's what this is. It's all a countdown, right? This is 2 Chronicles 29. 2 Chronicles 29. We're going to get out of here. 2 Chronicles, real quick. 2 Chronicles 29 and 1. 2 Chronicles 29 and 1. 2 Chronicles 29 and 3. In the first year of his reign, in the first month, he opened the door of the house of Yahuwah and repaired them. And he brought the Kohanim, the priests, and assembled them in the square in the east, and said to them, hear you, Louis, now consecrate yourselves and consecrate the house of Yahuwah, the Elohim of your fathers, and carry out the filth out of Qahalath place. For our fathers have been unfaithful and have not done what was evil in the sight of Yahuwah, our Elohim, that they have forsaken him and have turned away their faces from the habitation of Yahuwah and turned their backs. They turned their backs. What do you think the people doing now? They also shut the doors of the vestibule and put out the lamps and have burned incense and burnt offerings in the Qahalath place to the God Elohim and Yasharal. Therefore the wrath of Yahuwah came on Yehuda and Jerusalem, and he has made them an object of horror and astonishment. Right? That's what happens to you. And that's what happens to you. Skipping over to verse 15. They gathered their brothers and consecrated themselves and went as the king commanded by the word of Yahuwah to cleanse the house of Yahuwah. That's what we did in the first day of the first month. But this what? And the priests went into the inner part of the house of Yahuwah to cleanse it. And they brought out the uncleanness, the tameh, they found in the temple of Yahuwah, the tomb, right? Into the court of the house of Yahuwah. And the Levites took it and carried it out into the brook Kidron, the dark water, Nakalah Kudrum. They began to consecrate from the first day of the first month, and on the 8th day of the month, they came to the vestibule, the Ulam, and says, then at 8 days they consecrated the house of Yahuwah, and on the 16th day of the first month they finished, right? They did all that. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 9 and verse 1. Numbers 9 and 1. Numbers 9 and 1. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai. Numbers 9 and 1. In the first month, in the second year, after they came out of the land of Mizraim, skipping over to verse 9. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the people of Yasharal, saying, if any one of you, of your descendants, is unclean through touching a dead body, or on a long journey, he shall keep the Pasach of Yahuwah in the second month. On the 14th day at twilight, they shall keep it, right? So that's why you look at when Yahushua rose on the grave 27 days ago. 27 days ago, Yahushua rose from the grave, or 28 days, Yahushua rose from the grave, and guess what? Everybody was unclean by a dead body. Why? Because you killed the son of Yahuwah. Nobody knew about it. Then he appeared to his disciples, his shalakim, alive. And then he breathed on them. He said, receive the Ruach, please. But guess what? And guess what he said? We are unclean. It says, and those men said to him, I see going over to verse 11. In the second month of the 14th day at twilight, that's what we're on right now. In between the suns, they shall keep it. They shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, right? It's the same practice as it was when it came to the other practices. Same practice. They shall leave none of it until the morning. Right? Same thing. You got to be on time. How you say at night? Right? You got to be on time. None of it till the morning, right? Nor break any of its bones. The same thing when they killed Yahushua Mashiach. They didn't break none of his bones when they pierced in his side because they saw he was dead already. They didn't break his bones. According to all the statute of the Pasach, they shall keep it. So we got to be just like he said. Why do you think Yahushua the Pasach lamb? You think they knew, you think they understood that? When he rose from the grave, all those people, you think all those people, he had to appear to them and show that he was the Pasach lamb on this day. The second day, the second month, on the 14th day. He had to show them all these things by proof that he was that lamb according to the Torah. That's what he was doing. That's how they understood it. They shall keep it. And you gotta, how are you not gonna understand it if you don't do anything? But if anyone who is clean and is not on a journey and fails to keep the Pasach, that person shall be cut off from his people because he did not bring Yahuwah's offering at the appointed time. Right? So you already know. But that's just one reason. That's the one reason. That man shall bear his sin. You're going to bear your sin. Like we read about Miriam. He'd be like, ain't nothing going to happen to me. I said, okay. But that's you see what happened to her. Right? This is 2 Chronicles chapter 30 and verse 1. 2 Chronicles chapter 30 and verse 1. 2 Chronicles chapter 30 and verse 1. And Hezekiah sent all Yasharal and Yehuda and wrote the letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh, and that they should come to the house of Yahuwah, Jerusalem, to keep the Pasach to Yahuwah, the Alim of Yasharal. For the king and his princes and all the assembly of Jerusalem had taken counsel to keep the Pasach in the second month, for they could not keep it at the time because the priests had not consecrated themselves. Nobody did it. That's why I said nobody did it. You haven't consecrated yourself. See, Yahuwah don't want no Pasach without no consecration. I don't want your Passover, your Chag Matzah without no consecration. There's no point in you even talking about you kept Pasach. You didn't get the tumah out of you. You didn't get the sexual pleasure out of you. You didn't get the uncleanness out of you. You didn't get the gossip and the slander and the hatred and the jealousy and the envy and the strife. You didn't even get the quarreling that we just read about Maureen. You didn't even get that out of your heart and your mind. So therefore, they had not consecrated themselves in sufficient number, nor had the people assembled in Jerusalem. He said nobody did anything properly. They won't do it. But guess what? Where's Jerusalem at? Jerusalem above is free and is the mother of us all. He said, you worship, you know not what? Our fathers worship in this mountain, but you saying Jerusalem is a place where you ought to worship. I tell you, our hour is coming that neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem you will worship the Father. For you worship, you know not what? For He said for salvation of the Yahudim. They came through. So he said, I already know how this stuff works. And the plan seemed right in the king and all the assembly. So they decreed to take the proclamation through all Yasharal from Beersheba to Dan, that the people should come and keep the Pasach of Yahuwah, the Alemi Yasharal at Jerusalem, for they had not kept it often as prescribed. So the couriers went into all Yasharal and Yehuda and sent letters. We're skipping over to verse 7. Do not be like your fathers and your brothers who were faithless to Yahuwah and their fathers, so that he made them a desolation, as you see. Understand, that's what's coming after this. Because he gave you an opportunity, a second opportunity. Do not be stiff-necked, as your fathers were, and yield yourselves to Yahuwah, and come to his sanctuary, which is consecrated forever. And serve Yahuwah, your Elohim, and fierce anger may turn away from you. This is why you got to do it for your whole household. You got to do it for your whole family. You got to do it for your whole house. Why? That his fierce anger may turn away from you. You just read about it. See what he did to Miriam. So you think, I am Yahuwah, I change not, according to Malachi. He hasn't changed. Miriam did. You see what he did to her. So you say, no, there ain't nothing going to happen. It's all a part of it. And guess what it says? And serve Yahuwah, your Elohim, with fierce anger may turn away from you. For if you return to Yahuwah, your brothers and your children will find compassion with their captors and return to this land. For Yahuwah, your Elohim, is gracious and merciful, and will not turn away his face from you if you return to him. Right? So all this is a part of it, right? Skipping over to verse 13. And many of the people came together in Jerusalem to keep the feast of Chag Matzah in the second month. So that's Pasach, 14th day in between the suns. Then you got 15th day to the 21st day. Right? It's the same thing. Same 7 days, right? You got to do the whole thing. It ain't just, I'm going to do Pasach and then I ain't going to do the rest. No, you got to do the whole thing. A very great assembly, and they set the work and removed the altars that were in Jerusalem, and all the altars for burning incense they took away and threw it in the brook Kudrum. Because all that stuff was defiled. Their altars were defiled. What they were offering on, their whole offering was defiled. It's the same way your body and your mind, your heart and your mind can be defiled. And you had to throw that in the Qahalath Kudrum. That's what we did in the first month. But it's the same practice. They didn't do it. And they slaughtered Pasach lamb in the 14th day of the second month. Why do you think Yahushua was slain in the 14th day of the first month, in between the suns? He's trying to show you again, you're crucifying Yahushua afresh again. That's the whole point of it. Because that's the whole point. You're crucifying him afresh again, and you're bringing him to an open shame. That's the whole point of it. Because you didn't do what you were supposed to. None of us, he said, even if you tried to the utmost compassion, right? The utmost urgency. You know how people say, well, I did that thing. But then not even knowing, you don't really know me. Yahushua, like, you don't really know me like that. You don't really know me, do you? They get what it says. In very great assembly, and they set the work and removed the altars in Jerusalem, and all the altars and the burning incense they took away and threw into brook Kudrum. And they slaughtered the Pasach lamb on the 14th day of the second month, and the Kohanim and the priests were ashamed. There you go. You bring them to an open shame, so guess what that do for you? You crucify Yahushua afresh, right? Going to the, what do you think this is all about? What do you think this is all about? This is all about that. Right, it's the book of, that's all this is about. That's all this is about. Right, it's the book of 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians. We're going to go back to that. Everything happens for a reason. That's what this is all about. Right, you're on Hebrews chapter 6 and 6. Hebrews 6 and 6. Hebrews 6 and 6. Hebrews 6 and 5. 6 and 5. Hebrews 6 and 5. Hebrews 6 and 6. Hebrews 5 and 6 and Hebrews 6 and 5. Hebrews 6 and 4. For it says 6 and 1. Therefore, let us leave the elementary doctrine of Mashiach and go on to maturity. Why? Because you got to forget those things which are behind. That's what mature is. You got to forget everything that's behind and go forward. But you know what happens? People still stuck in, still stuck, not even knowing. And not laying, again, the foundation of repentance, right? That's what this is. What do you think this is? And dead works and amunah toward Elohim, and instructions about washings, and laying on of hands, the resurrection of the dead, and eternal in judgment. And this we will do if Elohim permits. For it is impossible in the case of those who have once been enlightened, and have tasted of the Shamayim gift, and have shared in the Qahalath Ruach, and have tasted the goodness of the Debar, and the powers of the age to come, and they have fallen away. How do you fall away? By not doing what Yahuwah said. To restore them again to repentance, they are crucifying once again the Son of Yahuwah to their own harm and holding him up to contempt. That's the whole point of it. But why did he do that for? For the land that has drunk the rain that often falls on it and produces a crop useful to those for whose sake it is cultivated receives a barak from Elohim. And what Esau was praying for? He was like, man, I'm trying to get that barak. But if it bears thorns and thistles, it is worthless and near to being cursed. And its end is to be burned. Why? Because that's what you do with a field when it doesn't yield anything. You burn it, and then you come back and plant again. Though we speak in this way, yet in your case, beloved, we feel sure better things that belong to salvation. For Elohim is not unjust so as to overlook your work and your love that you have shown for his name in serving the Chdshim as you still do. So what is it all about? What is this all about? Going to 2 Corinthians. All right, we're going to 2 Chronicles. Go back to 2 Chronicles, and then we get out of here. 2 Chronicles chapter 30. 2 Chronicles chapter 30 and verse... 2 Chronicles chapter 30 and verse 8. Do not be stiff-necked as your fathers were, but yield yourselves over to Yahuwah and come to his sanctuary which he has consecrated forever and serve Yahuwah. Going to verse 15. And they slaughtered the Pasach lamb on the 14th day of the second month, and the priests and the Levites were ashamed. So they consecrated themselves and brought the burnt offerings in the house of Yahuwah, and they took their accustomed posts according to the law, Turah of Moshe, the men of Elohim, and the Kohanim threw the blood, and they received from the hands of the Levites. For there were many in the assembly who had not consecrated themselves. Right? It was a whole bunch of people. So you think all these people throughout the four corners of the earth did it? No. But this is why Yahushua did some things, and I'm going to show you. Therefore the Levites had slaughtered the Pasach lamb for everyone who was not clean to consecrate it to Yahuwah. Right? Everybody, this is the whole point of this whole thing. This is what Yahushua was doing in 40 days. For many of them from Ephraim and Manasseh, Issachar had cleansed themselves, yet they ate had not cleansed themselves, yet they ate the Pasach otherwise than as prescribed. Right? You know how many people have done that? He still did it. Gossip, slander, hatred, jealousy, envy, slander, all types of demonic things, robberies, right? Evil, joking, right? False accusations, slander, everything, right? They done did almost everything in the book that you could probably think of that you shouldn't do. And guess this is you right here. Yet they ate the Pasach otherwise than prescribed. Many of them from Ephraim, Manasseh, Issachar, Zabulun had not cleansed themselves, yet they ate the Pasach otherwise than as prescribed. That's everybody. That's all the people on. For Hezekiah had prayed for them, saying, may the good Yahuwah pardon or kafar everyone. How you mean? He kafar. He pardoned you. who set his heart to seek Elohim. That's the only way you're going to get it. So in order for you to get this pardon in this second Pasach, you have to set your heart to seek Elohim, Yahuwah, the Elohim of his fathers, even though not according to the sanctuary rules of cleanness, even though you didn't do it properly. You have to set your heart to seek Yahuwah. And guess what? And Yahuwah heard Hezekiah and healed the people. Why do you think Miriam got healed? And Yahuwah did what? And he healed the people. So a lot of people got false healings. So what kind of healing you got? Man, that's a false healing. It's a temporary healing. I healed your arm and our leg and I made you, okay, you still didn't cleanse yourself according to the proper way. You had to cleanse your inward man for Pasach. So you got another chance to walk and do all the things properly so you can cleanse yourself properly. It's only temporary. The real healing is the transformation of the nefesh, the inward man that's going to be with Yahuwah. That's why he said, fear not man that can destroy the body. Right? But guess what it says? And Yahuwah heard Hezekiah heal the people, and the people of Yasharal who were present in Jerusalem kept the Qahalath, Feast of Unleavened Bread, with great gladness. Why? Because that's all a part of it. So what does it got to do with anything? So how you going to get the pardon? he said, how do you get the pardon? Right, this is the book of James, or your code. James chapter 1. James, or your code, chapter 1 and verse 19. 1 and 19. Know this, my brothers and sisters, let every person be quick to hear. Right, so this is what you need to do. Quick to hear, slow to speak. That's what Miriam and Aharon should do, and slow to anger. Slow. You gotta be real slow. For the anger of Adam does not produce the righteousness of Elohim. This is what anger does. It don't produce righteousness of Elohim. Therefore, you haven't cleansed yourself properly. You haven't cleansed yourself properly in your inner man. Right? Therefore, put away all filthiness. You haven't cleansed yourself properly. And rampant wickedness, you haven't cleansed yourself according to the sanctuary. Because know ye not that your body is the temple of Yahuwah? And receive with meekness. You know what Mashah was? He was very meek. The implanted the bar, which is able to save your flesh. You know, your natural man, your outward man that's going to eventually die. Save your souls, your nefesh, right? But be doers of the word. That's how you get the pardon. How are you going to get the pardon? You got to be doers of the implanted word. And not hearers only. That's what people do. These are all types of things that people just want to hear. They don't want to do it. Deceiving yourselves. Because for some reason, you think you've already attained it. Like Charles say, I know I haven't attained it yet. I am not perfect right now, but this is what I do. I forget those things that are behind. And I press toward the high calling, the upward calling of Yahushua Mashiach. For if anyone is a hearer of the bar and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in the mirror. My money, my cars, my houses, my gain and my wealth, my beauty and what I'm going to do, vacations I'm going to go on, the things I'm going to do, right? Your own natural state. Right? My family, my children, my things that I own, my mother, my father, all these things. You start thinking about these things. Your natural face. This is the natural man. Right? Well, I'm finna get on this boat, finna go over here, man, I'm finna chill out, right? And these are all a part of this mindset. There's time for that, but this ain't time right now. And guess what? For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man or woman who he looks intently at his natural face, her face in the mirror, for he looks at himself and goes away and at once forget what he was like. That's why they said many of the people didn't cleanse themselves properly according to the sanctuary, and they didn't throw the proper stuff in the brook Kudrum, in the Nakalak Kudrum. They didn't really do it. And guess what? But the one who looks in the perfect law, that's why Charles said, I ain't saying I'm perfect, but this is what I do though. You got to look in the perfect law. The law of liberty, that's what it is. It's freedom. We're trying to free you from your flesh, your natural man. And perseveres being not a hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts. Isn't that what they were doing? They forgot though. They were like, you ain't do it right. And he said, okay, now you acting on what's happening. So he says, okay, now you have liberty. He will be Barak in his doing. Now you see, you won't be like Esau. Please. Be doers of the word, not hearers only. If anyone thinks he is religious, and bridles not his tongue, now you see why you don't be. Miriam, Meshach, and Aaron, all y'all arguing, come out here. But deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. It's a worthless religion. Religion is pure and undefiled before Elohim is this, right? To visit the orphans and the widows in their affliction, right? That's women who ain't got no male figure, children who ain't got no male figure, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. You haven't properly cleansed yourself according to the proper cleansing of the sanctuary. Know ye not that your body is a temple of Yahuwah? Because you can't, for some reason, your tongue is saying some stuff you should not be saying. Right, this is the book of Exodus, Shemuth, chapter 31, 1 through 18. And Yahuwah said to Meshach, see, I have called by name Baziel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Yehudah. And I have filled him with the Ruach of Elohim, Ruach of Yahuwah, with the ability and intelligence. Right, so he got ability and intelligence. He got ability and intelligence, with knowledge and all craftsmanship, to devise artistic design, the work of gold, silver, and bronze, and the cutting of stones. Right, so all that he can do because Yahuwah gave it to him. Setting and in carving wood to the work of every craft, right? So he got it. And behold, I have appointed with him Aholiabah, the son of Ashmach, of the tribe of Dan, and I have given to all men ability, that they may make all that I have commanded you. The tent meeting, the ark of testimony, the ark, the Arun of Aydah, and the mercy seat, the Kaparot, that is on it, and all the furnishings of the tent, the table, utensils, the pure lampstands, the utensils, and the altar and the incense, and the altar and the burnt offerings, and the utensils, and the basins, and the stands, and the firing work garments, and the garments of Aharon the priest, and the garments of the sons, and for their service as priests, and the anointing oil, and the fragrant incense, and the clouds plate, according to all that I have commanded you today. Commanded you, they shall do. And Yahuwah said to Meshach, you are to speak to the people of Yasharal, saying, above all, you shall keep my Shabbats, right? So he said, above all, you shall keep my Shabbats, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. For what? That you may know that I, Yahuwah, does sanctify you, or kudash you. Because you got to cleanse yourself properly according to the sanctuary. I'm the one who's doing it. Yahuwah is purifying you, right? Whosoever does any work, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days shall your work be done, but the seventh is the Shabbat of the solemn rest, kudash to Yahuwah. Whosoever does any work on the Shabbat day shall be put to death. He say, that's how it was back in the day. But if you do it today, you do it now in the new Bereavement, Yahuwah's wrath is going to be against you. And you don't know too. You'll know when you start losing stuff, when things start happening. Therefore, the people of Yasharal shall keep my Shabbats, observing the Shabbats throughout their generations as a covenant forever. It is a sign forever between me and the people of Yasharal. 6 days Yahuwah made the Shamayim in the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. That's why you got to do Qahalath in the second month. Why? Because he's just trying to show you something. It's still the same thing. And he gave Meshach, and when he had finished speaking with him on Mount Sinai, 2 tablets, right? He gave him 2 tablets of the testimony of stone written with the finger of Yahuwah. He gave him 2 tablets. He gave him 2 tablets. That's all part of it. We're going to keep going. Shemuth, Exodus chapter 32. And when the people of Yasharal, people saw Meshach delayed to come down from the mountain, you know how it is. Delayed. You know, your flight get delayed. What happens when your flight get delayed? What do you do? Right? the people gathered themselves together in Aharon and said to him, "Up and make us gods who shall go before us. As for this Mashah, the man who brought us out of the land of Mizraim, we do not know what has become of him." He said, "We don't even know." He said, "We don't even know what has become of him." Didn't Yahushua was here for how many days? 40 days, presenting himself and proving to them by many infallible proofs that he was trying to prove to them who he was. So Aaron said to them, "Take off the rings of gold that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." So all the people took off the rings of the gold that were in their ears and brought them to Aharon, and he received the gold from their hand and fashioned it with graving tools and made a golden calf, and they said, "These are your gods, O Yasharal." Now you see why Yahushua was here for 40 days. He said, "Why Yahushua here for 40 days? I got to make sure you don't go back to doing this." Remember, he said he's going to be here 40 days with the crack in the whip. I got to make sure you don't do anything. Because in order for me to seal this properly, we have to get to the 50th day without you doing this. This is why a lot of people don't get, this is why a lot of things don't happen. Because everybody just keeps the Pasach and they go right back. They go right back to their sin because they ain't got nothing else to do. You know how you say, "I need something else to do." Okay, we got second Pasach. I know y'all ain't cleansed yourself. This is why. And guess what? And guess what he did? "And he received the gold in their hand and fashioned it with graving tools and made a golden calf. And they said, 'These are our gods, O Yasharal, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim.'" So you just see what Yahuwah was telling Mashah, "Hey, I anointed these men with the Ruach of Elohim to make these things for these people." But you see Aharon getting anointed to do what? Something else. This is how fast you can get messed up. That's why he was trying to help them out. Hey, male, female, I'm trying to stop you. That's all he's doing. "Who brought you out of the land of Israel?" When Aharon saw this, he built an altar before it, and Aharon made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to Yahuwah." And see, they'll keep this feast now. But the second Pasach, they ain't gonna do that. But they'll keep that feast though. They'll run that feast. He said they're gonna be a feast, right? "And they rose up early the next day and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play." And then what? People keep that feast though to another god during these 50 days, these 40 days, this 49-day count. But they'll be right there, burning and doing everything they possibly can. This is why Yahuwah why he got a second Pasach. So I need you focused. I don't need you thinking about nothing else but me. And Yahuwah said to Mashah, "Go down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Mizraim have corrupted themselves." He's like, look what happened. They already did it. "And they turned aside quickly out of the way what I commanded them, and they have made themselves golden calves and have worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, 'These are your gods, O Yasharal, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim.'" Notice how Yahuwah repeated everything they said. I heard what they said, and this is what they said, Mashah. And Yahuwah said to Mashah, "I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people." And we just read in 2 Chronicles. Everybody like that. You think people ain't stiff-necked even after Yahushua rose, died, and ascended? "Now therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, in order that I may make a great nation of you." This is how fast it can happen. But Mashah implored Yahuwah, his Elohim, and said, "Yahuwah, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Mizraim, with great power and with a mighty hand?" How many days since Yahushua rose from the grave? 28 days. So therefore, he's still here. Just picture him as still here. He's still instructing. He's still here. Because that's what Pasach represent. The first Pasach represent coming out of Mizraim. It represented that. But look what people already started doing. So he said, "Oh, here goes the second Pasach." Because they ain't cleansed themselves properly. They still got idols in their heart. It says, yeah. But Mashah implored Yahuwah, his Elohim, and said, "Yahuwah, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Mizraim with great power and might and a mighty hand? Yod. Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent did he bring them out, to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your burning anger and relent from this disaster against your people. So he's literally asking for a pardon. You know, a pardon? Relent. Turn away from your anger. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Yasharal, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of Shamaim, and in this land that I have promised I will give your offspring, and they shall inherit it forever. So therefore, and Yahuwah relented. There we go. He relented from the disaster that he had spoken in bringing on the people. He stopped. He stopped because of Mashah. Because of him. All right, this is the book of 1 Peter. I go to 1 Timothy. Go to 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 2. 1 Timothy chapter 2. 1 Timothy chapter 2 and 1. 1 Timothy chapter 2 verse 1. First of all, then, I urge that supplication and prayers and intercessions and thanksgiving be made for all people. And then what Mashah just did. For Malachim and for all who are in high positions. I don't know about that. But it says that we may lead a peaceable and quiet life. It says righteous and dignified in every way. This is good and is pleasing in the sight of Elohim, our Savior, who desires that all people should be saved and come to the knowledge of the truth. Why? Because he didn't want to see no one fails. But guess what? For there is one Elohim, and there is one mediator between Elohim and men. And whatever Mashah was. The man, Mashiach Yahusha, who gave himself as a ransom for all, which is the testimony given in its proper time. You know what Mashah doing right here? He giving himself right here for a ransom for all these people to Yahuwah will relent from the things that he was going to do for them. Who gave himself as a ransom for all, which is the testimony given at its proper time. You know, the Aydah that you're supposed to be in the Aarons, in the Aaron, with the Kaparot on top. For this I was appointed a Qahalath or a Shalakim. I am a telling the truth and I am not lying. Is he lying? A teacher of the Goyim and a Munah in truth, right? This is the book of, going to continue on, Exodus, Shemu. 34, I think it's 34, yeah, 34. And 15. Then Mashah turned and went down from the mountain. 32 and 15. With the two tablets of the testimony in his hand. Tablets that were written on both sides. So they were written on both sides, right? It says on the front and the back, they were written. They were written on the front and on the back. So you got the commandments in the back and the front of the two tablets, right? And the tablets were the work of Elohim, and the writing was the writing of Yahuwah, engraved on the tablets. And when Yahushua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Mashah, there is a noise of war in the camp. Isn't that what we do during the springtime? Dawid is supposed to go to war. What was Dawid doing when he didn't go to war? He was out there looking at Bathsheba, right? It's war in the camp. That's what you're supposed to do in the springtime. But he said, it is not the sound of victory or the sound of a cry of defeat, but the sound of singing that I hear. He said, I hear singing. Isn't that what they did in 2 Chronicles? They sung with all their might during the second Pasach. And as soon as he came near to the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, and that what he was supposed to do from the second, it was joy and gladness, right? They were praising Yahuwah, right? And guess what? There was noise and war in the camp, but he said, it is not the sound of victory or the sound of defeat, but the sound of singing I hear. And as soon as he came near to the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, Mashah's anger burned hot. And he threw the tablets of his hand out of his hand and broke them at the foot of the mountain. He broke all of them things. He like, man, ain't no point in keeping no commandments now. You know why? What's the point of keeping the commandments? You worshiping idols. He like, man, there's no point. If we try to keep the commandments now, this is going to be a real mess. And he took the calf that they had made and burned it with fire and ground it into powder and scattered it on the water and made the people of Yasharal drink it. Now you see why they made Yahusha drink that when he was on the totality. They put a reed and he wouldn't drink it the first time, but then the second time he drunk it. Why do you think he had 2 tablets of stone? And he broke both of them. And then you know what else he did? And Mashah said to Aaron, why did this people do to you that you have brought? What did the people do to you that you have brought such a great sin upon them? He said, what did they do to you? What did they do? How did they convince you to do this? And Aharon said, let not the anger of my master burn hot. You know the people that they are set on evil. He said, what did they do? For they said to me, make us gods whom shall go before us. Now, as for this Mashah, the man who brought us out of the land of Mizraim, we did not know what has become of him. Because remember, when Yahusha rose from the grave in these 28 days since, nobody really knew that he was risen from the grave. He had to show himself by 40 days by many infallible proofs. They didn't know what happened to him. So he had to prove to them, he had to show them in the Torah that this is him. So I said to them, let anyone who have gold take it off. So they gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and out came this calf. And when Mashah saw that the people had broken loose, for Aaron had let them break loose, to the derision, that's what they added. Then Mashah stood in the gate of the camp and said, who is on Yahuwah's side? And that's this whole point. That's what Kazakh was sitting on those letters to. He was trying to tell them who's on Yahuwah's side. Who's going to keep this Pasach? Who's going to do it properly? Who's going to cleanse themselves according to the sanctuary? And who's going to throw it in the brook Kudrum? Who on Yahuwah's side? Come to me. And all of y'all, that's why Yahusha said, come to me all that are heavy laden. And he said, and come to me, right? Let's go there. Going on to a book of, we're going to finish this. I don't want to get boring. Right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 11, and verse 25. And at that time, Yahusha declared, I thank the Father of Shamayim, the Master of Shamayim and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and understanding and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for such was a gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone who the Son chooses to reveal him. Come unto me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Who is on Yahuwah's side? Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. What do you mean yoke? Thou shalt not muzzle the ox that tread out the corn, tread out the grain. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox that tread out the grain. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox that tread out the grain. For I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. He's like, this is easy. Imagine him putting a muzzle on your mouth, and you had to go out in the field, and you dragging the thing you got to tread out the grain with right now. How many of you will make it? You wouldn't make it. He said, my yoke is easy. Right, going back to verse 26. And then Mashah stood in the gate of the camp and said, who's on Yahuwah's side? Come to me. And all the sons of Louis gathered around him, right? So I'm guessing they didn't cleanse themselves properly, right? And he said to him, thus says Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, put your sword on your side, each of you, and go to and fro to gate throughout the camp. And each of you kill his brothers, his companion, and his neighbor. And the sons of Louis did according to the word of Mashah, and that day about 3,000 men of the people fell. 3,000. That's all important too. And Mashah said, you think Yahuwah gonna leave them dead? 3,000 fell though. You think Yahuwah wanna leave them dead? 3,000 fell. And Mashah said, today you have been ordained for the service of Yahuwah. That's why you're doing all these things. Each one at the cost of his son and his brother, so that he may bestow a barak on you this day. Right? So this is the book of Luke, chapter 14. Luke, chapter 14 and 26. Luke, chapter 14 and 26. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. You know what he just did, Mashah? He just did that. He said, come to me. He said, all of y'all who did this properly, he said, come to me. And guess what he said? Verse 28, and the sons of Louis did according to the word of Mashah, and that day 3,000 men fell. And Mashah said, today you have been ordained for the service of Yahuwah. Each at the cost of his son and his brothers, so that he might bestow a barak upon you. He said, even your companion. Right? The next day Mashah said to the people, you have sinned a great sin. So what do you think? When you worship an idol, you don't think you've sinned a great sin? You sinned. And now I will go up to Yahuwah, perhaps I will make an atonement for your sins. That's why you see why he says, I kafar you. Maybe the good Yahuwah kafar you, pardon you. Why do you think Yahushua died? Why do you think they pierced him inside? Why do you think he cried out twice? Why do you think all these things took place? So Mashah returned to Yahuwah and said, alas, this people have sinned a great sin. You've sinned a great sin. They have made for themselves gods of gold. You know how people worship gold? Look how much gold I got. They worship it. For now, if you will forgive their sin, but if not, please blot me out of your book that you have written. And that's Yahushua Mashiach. He was being a mediator between Elohim and man, Adam. But Yahuwah said to Mashah, whosoever sins against me, I will blot out of my book. But now go lead your people to the place that which I have spoken to you. Behold, the Malach will go before you. Nevertheless, in that day nevertheless, in the day when I visit, I will visit their sin upon them. This is going to happen. That will happen to everybody. Then Yahuwah sent a plague on the people. So Yahuwah says something. And he says, you know what? You worship that idol. And guess what happens? Now you're in trouble. Because they made a calf, the one that Aharon made. He said, so that's what they did, right? So this is the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 29, Devarim 29 and 16. Deuteronomy 29, 16. You know how we lived in the land of Mizraim. That's where we should have came out. And how we came through the midst of the nations through which you passed. And you have seen their detestable things, their idols of wood, their stone and silver and gold, which were among them. Beware lest there be there be among you a man or woman or clan or tribe. Notice how it just grow from man, woman, clan. That's a whole bunch of people. Tribe, whose heart is turning away from. You mean falling away? You mean falling away? That's what that is. Falling away. Today from Yahuwah, our Elohim, to go and serve gods of those nations. Beware, lest there be among you a root bearing poisonous and bitter fruit. That's what Maureen's name means. He said, didn't we just read that? A root of bitterness spring up and cause trouble? It's bitter fruit. So you'd be like, man, my fruit, I got a basket of summer fruit. So you think your fruit is going to be pure and righteous and true? No, it's going to be bitter. Like Maureen, you're going to be saying things out of your mouth you shouldn't say. But guess what? One who, when he hears the words of this sworn covenant, baraks himself in his heart. That's what people do. They be like, man, I was clean, boy. I did this thing true. I mean, how you see how that feast, that card more I kept? He said, you don't barak yourself in your heart. That's what people do. And guess what it says? And guess what he says? blesses himself in his heart, saying, I shall be safe, though I walk in the stubbornness of my own heart. You know we just read in 2 Chronicles? That's what Isha, male and female, say, man and woman. This will lead to the sweeping away of the moist and the dry alike. Yahuwah will not be willing to forgive him. He said, man, you're going to expect judgment. You're going to do it with tears too. You know, I said, please, right? It's not going to happen. But rather, the anger of Yahuwah and his jealousy will smoke against that man or woman or clan or tribe or group or acquaintances. And the curse written in this book will settle upon him. It ain't going to be the Ruach. And Yahuwah will blot out his name from under Shamayim. So he's like, I'm gonna put you in this, I'm gonna send you to the spirit world. That's how it was. And Yahuwah will single him out of all the tribes of Yasharal for calamity, and according to the curses of the covenant written in the book of the Torah. Why? Because all the things that people did. We ain't talking about. He say these people actually were instructed these things, right? A lot of these other things that you hear today never were told to you. Matter of fact, never was practiced in front of you. Matter of fact, you were born into idol worship. You were born into things that you weren't supposed to be doing. So therefore, Shemuth Exodus 34, 1 through 9. Yahuwah said to Mashah, cut for yourself 2 tablets of stone like the first. Now you see why, we mean like the first. That means the first Pasach. We had the first Pasach, right? But then he said, just like the first, which just means the second time you're doing it. And I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablet. He said it's the same thing that you saw. And then guess what? It's the same thing again, which you broke. So you telling me everybody kept all the 10 commandments and the covenant that Yahuwah did? No. And he broke them. Be ready by the morning and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai. Why do you think Yahushua rose in the morning, early in the morning? He said, why he got up from the grave? And present yourself there to me on the top of the mountain. And what did he do? No one shall come with you, and let no one be seen throughout all the mountain. He said, I don't even want nobody there. You know what I say? I'm going to go to the mountain. I don't want nobody around you. You know, I said, I don't even want nobody with you. Can I go with you? No. Let no flocks or herds graze opposite that mountain. He said, I don't even want no animals there. So Mashah cut 2 tablets of stone like the first, and he rose early in the morning in Bakar and went up to Mount Sinai, Sinai, as Yahuwah had commanded him, and took in his hand the 2 tablets of stone. And Yahuwah descended in a cloud and stood with him there, and proclaimed the name of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah passed before him and proclaimed, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Elohim, merciful, gracious, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. Say what? In faithfulness, keeping steadfast love for thousands, forgiving iniquity, transgressions, and sins. But who will by no means clear the guilty, visiting iniquity on the fathers, on the children, to the children's children, to the 3rd and 4th generation. Mashah quickly bowed his head toward the earth and worshiped. He said he quickly did that. Why? Because when Yahuwah passed before him, he heard an announcement of Yahuwah's greatness. And he bowed his face to the ground and worshiped. And that's what everybody should do. And he said, if I have found favor in your sight, Yahuwah, please let the master go in the midst of us, for it is a stiff-necked people. And pardon our iniquity. You mean kafar? What do you think Yahushua was doing? And our sin, and take us for your inheritance. What do you think he's doing that for? He said, I espouse you to one husband, that I may present you a chaste virgin to Yahushua Mashiach. So he can take you for his inheritance. That's the whole point of this. He said, please. Because all this is a part of it, right? Going to the book of, we almost finished. Right, so this is the book of Uriah, Luke 14:26. Actually, no, Luke Deuteronomy chapter 29. Actually, no. Deuteronomy chapter 13. Deuteronomy chapter 13. Deuteronomy chapter 13, 6 through 10. Deuteronomy 13, 6 through 10. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife that you embrace, or your friend, who is as your own soul, entices you secretly. He said, entice you secretly, saying, let us go serve other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known. So they say, okay, let's go do something else. Some of the gods are the peoples who are around you, whether near or far. He said, you want to get on the plane. Want to get on the cruise and go do it? Want to go get on the plane? Man, let's drive, man. It's going on a road trip. Whether near you or far off from you, from the one end of the earth to the other, see how Yahuwah will be covering you? He'd be like, man, he'd be covering your mind. He'd be like, man, I'm finna get on a jet. I'm finna fly all the way across to this remote island somewhere. Yahuwah will never see me there. Man, Yahuwah say, all the way to the other part of the earth. You shall not yield to him or listen to him. And he said, I don't care if it's on a Snapchat, on a Zoom meeting. I don't care if you see that person's face. I don't care if it's on you say, I'm going to put the camera right in front of it. He said, I don't care if it's right just like that. I don't care. He said, I don't even care if you say, you know what, I'm only going to stay there for 5 minutes. He said, I don't even want you there. It says, you shall not yield to him or listen to him or her, nor shall your eye pity him. Nor shall you spare him or her, nor shall you conceal him or her, but you shall harag him. He said, you should kill. It says kill him, right? But that's what it says. Your hand shall be first against him or her to put him to death. See how Yahuwah is? You ever seen these movies where people be like, and you be put somebody you really, really love and care about right in front of you, and then they'll put a gun in your hand. He'd be like, I want you to kill him. He's like, that's absolutely insane. He's like, you're not going to be one of us if you don't do it. And he put it in your hand. So what you going to do? And I'm not telling you to literally do this, right? He says he gave you the sword of the Ruach, which is the bar, the word of Yahuwah. You got to tell them the word of Yahuwah. That's how you destroy them. With the word of Yahuwah. That's how you defeat Satan, because that's all it is Satan. And when it says kill him, he's telling you kill Satan. You can't kill Satan in the physical. You got to use the bar to get him out of that person. So when he says kill that person, he's saying destroy Satan by the bar, because Satan's on the inside of that person, Shaitan. So use the word of Yahuwah, speak the word of Yahuwah to him, that Satan may depart from that person, or that person has a decision to make to resist Satan within their own self. And he will flee from them, and they can be saved. That's what it's for. You got to speak to the bar. If you don't, your hand shall be first against him or her to put him to death, which means you got to know the bar. He said, man, you got to know that Deuteronomy 13, Deuteronomy 29. You got to know that Leviticus 18. You got to tell them to their face, you're your father Satan, if you can't. He said, you got to do it. Whether it's your son, your daughter, whether it's your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, whether it's that's why Yahushua said, if you can't hate your mother, father, sister, brother, child, wife, children, husband. He said, if you can't do it, he said, you can't be my disciple. Because you're going to have to say things. Now, you're going to say you have Yehuda. You say, who shall go up first? Yehuda shall go up first. And afterwards, the hand of all the people. See, so they may say, oh, okay. Then all the people say, you do it. No. Because that's your relative. That's a person close to you. We can't do it. You got to do it first. You shall stone him with death with stones, because he sought to draw you away from Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim, out of the house of slavery. And all Yasharal shall hear and fear, and never again do such wickedness as this among you. Right? So this is just about being among you, right? But this is just a part of it. Right? Romans chapter 8 and verse 13. Romans chapter 8 and verse 13. Romans chapter 8 verse 13. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. Right? So those people who do those things are according to the flesh. Right? He said you will move. But if you but if by the Ruach you put to death the deeds of the body. That's what the deeds of the body is. Worshiping other Elohims, other gods, worshiping golden calves, doing things that are opposite Yahuwah says. Putting to death the deeds, the behaviors. That's what the Ruach does. Puts to death the behaviors of it. That's how you know if you got the Ruach or not. If you got the Ruach, you will put to death the behaviors of it. If you ain't got the Ruach, you ain't going to do it. You just continually be disobedient. But if you got the Ruach, you're going to put it to death by the bar of Yahuwah. That's the difference. You're going to use the bar, you're going to put it to death by the bar, the deeds of the body that go against Yahuwah. And you know it. People say, you know what they are. He's like, no, I don't know what they are. He that keeps his mouth keeps his life. He would say, you know what it is. He said you need to put an ornament on your gogoroth, on your throat, that you may remind yourself not to say stuff out of your throat, out of your tongue and your mouth, what you shouldn't say. You ever see the tribes with they had a little neck jewel on their neck? They put it around their neck. Right, for us, it's just what? To remind you of what? Not to say something out of your mouth, because you royalty. You're supposed to be a royal priesthood, Kohanim, right? So they wore an ornament around their neck to remind them what? Not to say certain things out of their mouth. Because I represent something that's a little higher than my flesh. Right? And it says, in death of the deeds of the body, you will live. Right? You're going to live. So which one you want to do? Which one you want to do? Right? This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 9. Ezekiel chapter 9, 4 through 6. Ezekiel chapter 9, 4 through 6. And Yahuwah said to him, pass through the city, through Jerusalem, and put a mark on the foreheads. So, foreheads of the men who sigh and groan over all the abominations that are committed in it. So you got to have a certain type of behavior in order to get this mark. You know, he said you want to be sealed in your forehead. And guess what? And to the others he said, in my hearing, pass through the city after them and strike. Your eyes shall not spare, and you shall show no pity. Move old men outright, young men, maidens, virgins, right? So virgins can worship other gods too. Little children and women. But touch no one on whom is the mark. So which one you want? See, these are all a part of what? The understanding of the debar. You have to be that bold to say the things that you need to say in order for you to get the Ruach. This is why Yahushua was here for 40 days. Why he was cracking the whip for 40 days? He was making sure that people won't do things. He had to keep them in the way for 40 days. Because after that, they got 9 more days. You can keep yourself for 9 days, right? After I leave, after 40 days, right? Please. Just got 9 days of the 50th day. Then, Ruach, power. That's all you had to do. But you know, during this time, you gotta watch out. Right? Because all these times, you gotta watch out, right? So this is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, 26 through 23 through 26. For I received from the master whom I have delivered what I have also delivered to you, that the master Yahushua on the night when he was betrayed took bread. Right? That's what he did. He took bread. And when he had given thanks, he was betrayed that night. He broke it and said, this is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Why? You got to always have it as a car in your mind, the bar. The same way also, he took the cup after the Pasach saying, this is the new covenant in my blood. Do this as often often as you drink it, in remembrance of me, in Zakar. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Master out of needs death until he comes. What do you mean? You remember his death and suffering, right? This is the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26. Then Elohim said, let us make Adam in our own image, Damuz, and after our likeness, Salim, and let them have dominion over the God, the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the Shamaim, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So Elohim made Adam in his own image. In the image of Elohim, he created him, male Zakar and female Nakabah, he created them. Because he said, do this in remembrance of me, Zakar. Why did he put for male in the beginning? He put Zakar because it means remembrance. You can't forget. Because if you don't keep in memory what's been said to you, you believed in vain, which means Satan took the seed out of your mind and then now you forgot. That's how easy it is. A woman can be enticed. He said, what do you mean by that? Right. So this is the book of going to Bereshit chapter 3 and verse 1. This is how Isha got to be on guard. Why? Because if you're not on guard, you're going to get enticed. And you know how it is. I don't want to do that. What happened when he said, if anybody entice you, it don't matter who they are. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be hated by all men for his name's sake. That's the whole point. Because Yahusha said, they hated me, they're going to hate you too. He said, if you don't want to be hated, then you're not going to look like him. But you know, Bereshit, Genesis 3 and 1. Now the serpent Nakash was more crafty than any other beast of the field of Yahuwah Elohim had made. Now you see why Yahuwah said no animal need be on the other side of this mountain either. He be like, because I don't want him hearing nothing. I don't want them hearing nothing that's talking to you, Mashah. I don't even want no animal on the other mountain over there. Now you see why he ain't want no other animal. Because the animal be listening. Animal be like, you think them animals would be knowing? They bilingual. They understand all languages on the earth. You could say, Vamonos. They understand that. Bo. They understand that. Come over here, dog. They understand that. Them animals be knowing all languages. They bilingual. They understand that Abri Lashon. He be like, what you said to Michelle over there? He don't want none of them animals nosy. That's why he told him to get them away from. Cause I had a Nakash incident. I don't need that again. So therefore, I need them animals away from everybody, everything I'm getting ready to say. You see the eagle in Revelation, how it's doing, whoa, to the heavens of the earth, right? The eagle start talking, right? Right, but this is Malachi, but still, he understands that. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, did Elohim actually say, see, this is what he was trying to prevent. Did he actually say you should not eat of any tree of the garden? Did he actually say that? Because I was listening, and it sounded like he said you could do it. I don't know. I haven't got any clarity on that. We just read in the Duke Dabarim, if anyone entices you secretly. You know what he doing right here? To go after any other Elohim, he said your hand first should be upon him. So she got to do, the Isha got to make a decision quickly. Your hand got to be first on this being right here. And if you don't, Yahuwah anger gonna burn hard against you, right? You can't even conceal it or him. You know what they do? They'll talk, they'll have an entertaining conversation, and then they won't tell their husband. They won't tell the male figure. They won't say anything. Yeah, I had a conversation with such and such, and this and that, and he said this and this and that. You concealing the fact that you even had a conversation with him, and then it becomes what? Consensual conversation, right? The very same thing when a woman gets raped and she don't cry out. It's consensual. So you had a conversation, so it was consensual because you didn't say anything. And he said to the woman, did Elohim actually say you should not eat of any tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, to the Chdsh. We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but Elohim said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden. Neither shall you touch it, lest you die. Isn't that what we just read? He said, any man worship me other Elohim other than Yahuwah, he said, let him be devoted to destruction. Matter of fact, if you worship another Elohim, you shall die. You should stone him with stones that he died. They entice you. You're supposed to kill him. Isn't that what he's supposed to? Why do you think she was saying right here? Lest you die. So if you don't do it, if your hand don't be first upon him, then guess what happens to you? You die. You die in your mind, your understanding, because you are what? Showing pity to them, and the word Tabar tells you not to show pity to them. It don't even like show any remorse, because they're trying to turn you away from the creator of all things, Yahuwah himself, the one who controls everything. And guess what? But the serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die. Yeah, you will. You will die. Move. And guess what it says? For Elohim knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. She already know good and evil. Don't eat from this tree. Notice that. You already know good and evil. Don't eat from that tree, and you can eat from these trees. That's good and evil. You already know that already. So he already convinced you, there's another good and evil too. Right? It's a higher good and evil. Good and evil. It's a higher good and evil. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was the delight to the eyes, because does not the ear taste the bar? Because she's tasting it with her ears, her ozin. And guess what? And that the tree was the delight to make, desired to make, and that the tree was desired to make one wise, because she thought it was another good and evil. Man, this good and evil, but this thing better than the other good and evil. And guess what? She took of his fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband, who was also with her, and he ate. So you corrupted somebody else. Now you see why he tells you your hand got to be first upon him, then everyone else. Because had she put her hand on it first and told her the bar says, then what Adam would have did? The same thing. What she did. Her hand would have been first. Boom, you hit it with the bar, destroy it with what Yahuwah says. Then Adam would have did the same thing. But notice how Adam did the same thing she did. She pardoned. She didn't really say anything. She didn't really do anything. And then Adam ended up going along with what she did. But had her hand been first upon him, it would not have been that situation. Then he would have came in. The rest of the people would have did the same thing. So you got to do it first. That's why Aydah got to do it first. If this happens to you and you entice, you got to do it first. Male, if it happened to you, you got to do it first. Because if you don't, then the Aydah going to follow the same lead as you. And you end up corrupting everybody. And then everybody going to die. That's how it's going to work. Then the whole thing going to die. It's just like sin came into the world. Sin came into your household because your hand won't be on them first. That's why I just tell them the bar. I just tell them the truth. You hate me, I'll never see you again. But at the same time, it's all a part of it. Because if you don't, such and such, then it was nothing. And then the husband be like, okay, that's what you said. Then next you know, why is all this stuff happening? What did you do? Well, why did this happen, right? And that's because of what? Your hand got to be first on it. You got to do it. Then the eyes were both open. They knew they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths. That's what happens. That's what he said. That's what people do. They try to cover you with a covering, but there ain't no covering. They say they made loincloths, right? Everybody making loincloths, right? No clothes on. I'm naked. But that's the whole point, man. But anyway, Matthew 24, 3 through 14. And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, notice how they came secretly. A man comes secretly. and try to entice you to go after Elohim. Why do you think he told Kyle, get behind me, Satan? You know what he told him? Yahusha hand was on him real quick, first. But get what he said? They came privately saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And when shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the age? And Yahusha answered them, see that no one leads you astray. See? He said, make sure nobody leads you astray now. And turning away your heart to worship other gods. For many will come in my name saying, I am Mashiach, or will say, I have put on Mashiach. I've been immersed in his name. You know all these people been immersed in his name now? I've been immersed in his name. I have put him on. You know what all these people say? And they will lead many astray. You know how many people got? Man, everybody getting led astray. Right? And guess what? And you will hear wars and rumors of wars. You know what you see now? But they YouTube and turned it out. Everybody coming to Mashiach saying they leading everybody astray, right? And we see wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alone. He said, don't even be troubled. I get good sleep at night. Because Yahuwah made the Charmaines in the earth. I sleep and my sleep sweet. I get real good sleep. For thus, this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Isn't that what's going on right now? All these are the beginning of birth pain. You ever had a child before, a woman? How do birth pains feel? I feel like you're getting ready to die, right? That's exactly what this means. Then they will deliver you out to tribulation and put you to death. See, that's what he's trying to tell you. That's what birth pain is. Feel like you're gonna die. Yep. Even some people getting ready to die. Put you to death, and you will be hated by nations for my name's sake. Why? Because you won't worship their gods. You won't worship their Elohims. You won't worship their gods. You won't turn aside to their Elohims. You won't be enticed by them. You won't walk in their ways and their statutes and their judgments. You won't do what they say. You won't do what they do. And many will fall away. There we go. Fall away from Yahuwah, and they gonna go to them God. I'm telling you, man, them God beautiful. Boy, they got everything, boy. You see that? But them God, we don't care what you say. We still worship the Queen of Shamaim, boy. We prosper when we worship the Queen of Shamaim. Isn't that what they said? He said, many will fall away. That means they're gonna fall away from Yahuwah and do their own thing and betray one another. What do you mean betray? You know what Yahusha did? Yahusha got betrayed because Judas worshiped another god. And he what he did? Yahuwah worshiped another god. And he betrayed Yahusha. And he was with the man. And he saw him with all the miracles. And he betrayed him. So you think nobody gonna betray you? That's why he said you can't eat. Your own mother might betray you. Your father, your sister, your brother, your own child. Man, you might even have the mailman, right? Right? Your personal trainer. Everybody, they might betray you, man. Right? They might secretly entice you. What you gonna do then? Yeah, you know, it's nothing harmless, right? And then yes, you know what happens after that? Yeah, she just flashed me. Yeah, I know. You be thinking like, yeah, it's okay. Betray one another and hate one another. You'll start hating each other. You're gonna work together with Satan, as the Testament of God wrote. And many false Nabiim will arise and lead many astray. And the only thing you're going to do is leave, when you start hating each other, falling away, then you're going to leave other people to prey to false prophets. And they will rise and lead many astray. And then more people will get led astray. Notice how he keeps saying lead astray. More people get led astray. Who fault that is? Who he talking to? The Shalakim. And he said many going to hate one another and start falling away from Yahuwah Elohim. And then false Nabiim going to rise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. They're going to be freezing. You know what freezing means? You ain't got nothing to make you warm. I told you, just go outside, sleep at night, and it's cold outside. Just go sleep out there with no garments, no nothing, naked with a loincloth like Adam. And go see how cold you be. You're going to be freezing. But the one who endures unto the end will be saved. So you think nobody going to betray you? You think nobody going to hate you? You think nobody going to betray you and you think nobody going to fall away? They're going to worship other gods and other Elohims. They're going to be calling other gods, mixing in with Yahuwah, and it'd be like, that's the same thing. No, it ain't. Hitting that equal to 26. Yahuwah is both man and woman, male, female. It's like the breath of Yahuwah. His breath created all things. His one breath. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this truth of the Malkuth will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony, as an Aydah to all nations. Why? Because they got to put it in a room. And then the end will come. So that word for betrayed is scandalizo in Greek. G4624. And many will betray, or it says, I said that word for fall away. Sorry. Actually, no. Yeah, and many will betray one another. Where does it say that? Yeah. Yeah, that word for betray is scandalizio. It means to scandalize. Yeah, many will scandalize you. Scandalize each other. Entrap each other. You know how you create an offense? Right? And you get offended, but an offense, I'm offended, right? But the person that's offended is the person that's fallen, the person that's causing you to be offended is the person that's fallen away, that's betraying you, and that's hating you. That person is causing you to be offended in yourself. And they entrap you in it because they created it from them falling away, worship other gods, betraying their neighbor, and hating each other. So therefore, it's causing you to be offended, and then now that's the poison of Satan on the inside of you. And now you're ensnared in that thing that they created that offended you. And you're ensnared. And then what is that going to cause you to do? You're going to hate that boy. You're going to hate their everlasting guts. You're going to hate because they did that to you. Ooh, you're going to hate them. Hatred, boy. You're going to want to kill them, right? You're going to take them out. That's what's going to happen. You're going to hate. That's what Satan wants. Yes. Hate. Work with me. Please work with me. Work with me here. Work with me. Work with me. I want you to hate him so bad. Hate her. Hate them. Then when you see somebody else, hate them too, right? And that's what happens. Because people want to worship other gods, fall away, do stupid stuff, want to betray you, put your business out on the street, do all types of, put your business out on the street, put all your stuff out here out in the world. And now you ensnared, all you thinking about is that. You ain't thinking about your whole no more. You thinking about, man, these people, this person, this individual, this man, this woman, this child, this little brat, right? That's all you thinking about. You ain't thinking about no Pasach, you ain't thinking about no land, you ain't thinking about Yahuwah, you ain't thinking about keeping yourself clean, keeping yourself unspotted from the world. It also means to trip up. They're going to trip you up. You be walking, you be thinking about it so much. Man, that person, that you be falling on your neck. Boom. You end up hitting the stone, hitting the curb. Because you're thinking about what somebody else did or what somebody stole some money from you. Right? Stumble, it says also stumble. To entice to sin. It should offend you. But if you're quick with it and your hand is first to them and you hit them with the debar, then they can't escape. Because you know what's gonna happen, they're gonna fall away, betray you, then they're gonna run away and try to escape. But if you hit them with the debar real quick, you clear yourself. Because your hand was first upon it, and then guess what happens? Yahuwah ain't gonna do nothing. And then what happens? Then everybody else come at the person because it's a part of this whole cleansing process. But it says, but that's what happens. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. And that's because they're going to create the lawless acts by doing what they're doing. And then your love, Ahab, is going to grow cold within you. Your love, your Ahab for people, your Ahab for others, and your Ahab for Yahuwah is going to go cold. You're going to be cold-hearted because I don't want to be entrapped, scandalized, enticed to sin, and then I ain't going to have no displeasure and offended in myself, because once I become offended in myself, then what happens? You're entrapped in it. You're ensnared with Satan. Right? So this offended, the word offended means feeling hurt, angry, or annoyed. That's what happens. Or displeased due to perceived insult, disrespect, or unpleasant action. It's going to create something on the inside of you because they lawless. They go after other gods. They betraying you. They ain't trying to entice you to sin, transgress the bar that Yahuwah already spoken just because they don't understand it. You don't understand it. You don't understand the level of mindset you put. Why are you trying to get me to stop? You're really causing more disrespectful. You start getting more disrespectful. You don't know what you're talking about, right? It also means or displeased due to perceived insult, disrespect, or unpleasant action. It is an emotional response to the behavior or words that violate social norms or personal feelings. Examples include being angry by a rude comment or a feeling of upset by someone's disregard for your life, your mind, your mental health, your space, your understanding, right? All these things is disregard. That's why it says submit to all courteousness, all gentleness, and all humility. Then you won't have disregard for someone else's space, peace, mental health, mental clarity. Right? Being offended is to feel hurt, angry, or upset by something that is said or done. Note that offense is a feeling, right? It is. He said, I don't have feelings. Then I guess you're not a human being, right? But these are all a part of it. But this is all a part of it. So what is Yahuwah? Why is Yahuwah saying your hand needs to be first, then everybody else? Because he's trying to keep you from being offended. Because if you get offended, it's going to mess up your love and who you are as a person. That's why you have to immediately say something, and you got to be first, and then you have to immediately, you have to forgive immediately. Or run. He say run, forest, run. You run to the forest, right? Get up out of there. Right then they ran. He said, right then Jeremiah, he said, man, if I had a house in the desert, I'll never have to see nobody ever again. Right? It's the reason why he wrote that. People say, why he wrote that? You have no idea. Why do you think Yahushua went in the mountain and prayed by himself? Why do you think Yahushua went in the mountain and prayed by himself? What do you think Mashah was doing when he went to go see Yahuwah? He went by himself. He said, I don't even want no animal around. Right, this is Matthew 13, 44 through 53. And the kingdom of Shamayim is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. He bought the field. He covered that thing up. And then he bought a whole field. He don't want nobody to find it. You ain't going, I'm anonymous. Right? It's anonymous. You don't know. No, I don't want nobody to know where it's at. And again, the kingdom of Shammai is like a merchant in search for fine pearls, who on finding one pearl of great value went and sold all he had and bought it. He sold everything. He said, what you do all that for? Man, I sold everything I got and I put all my money in that thing. He said, why? Because it's like the kingdom of Shammai. I already know. That thing valuable. Let me throw all my money in there. That's how you say, how am I going to get the kingdom? People talk about they want to prosper in the world. You got to get a mindset like that. I need to diversify. No. Yeah, no, you don't need to diversify. You just need to find that one thing. And you just need to do it. That's it. You notice that Yahuwah ain't like one. Just one. He said, how old are you? I'm only 1 year old. That's it. I'm only one. What do you mean you're only one? I was only born one time. I'm only one. You can remember when I was born at one time, but I'm still 1 year old. That's it. I'm one. And again, the kingdom of Shamayim is like a net that has been thrown in the sea and gathered and gathered fish of every kind. When it is full, men drew it to shore and sat down and sorted the good into the containers, but threw away the bad. So will it be at the end of the age. The Malachim will come and separate the evil from the righteous. Now you see why you got to understand when things happen, you got to understand what's taking place. When he starts your hand got to be first, because he's trying to get you to understand how to separate the righteous from the wicked. He's trying to say, you got to do it first. You can't conceal it. You got to do it first. Because he's trying to teach you how to separate the righteous from the wicked quick, if you don't. So will it be at the end of the age. The Malachim will come and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into a fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's what's going to happen. He's going to be throwing everything in there. It says, and after, he said, guess what he said? Have you understood these things? They said to him, yes. You should understand that. Nobody catch a net. He said, man, I'm gonna keep the good fish. You can't keep everything inside of there. Some things ain't good. Some things you ain't supposed to have. The very same things, kingdom of Shamayim is precious. It's like a net. Right? You should be able to, when you gather in, when you throw it out, and you pull it in, when you say, I want to eat these fruits, okay. You got to be able to discern which one is good and which one is evil. Which one I can't eat and which one I can't. You have to be able to do that. That's evil. You're trying to entice me. I already know what you're trying to do. So therefore, and when Yahushua, you hear what he says, and he said to them, therefore, every scribe that's been trained in the kingdom of Shamayim is like a master of a house. So are you a master of your own body? So you should be a master of your house. You should already master yourself. Who brings out his treasures, what is new and what is old. You should be able to. What's new and old. Because if you look at the old stuff that people did, in the old times, that caused things that Yahuwah to his wrath to burn upon you, you should be able to throw that away. You should already be able to throw that away. That's an old fruit. That's like the old fathers. Don't be faithless like your father. That's an old. Right? You should be able to do that. Verse 53. And when Yahushua had finished these parables, he went away from there. Right? You notice how he's saying parables. But because Yahuwah was speaking to him mouth to mouth. And coming to his hometown, he taught them in their Aydah, so that they were astonished and said, where did this man get this wisdom, Hakmah, and these mighty works? See, now people starting to talk. You know what happens after that? You know when people start to talk, right? What else they do? Is this not the carpenter's son? They start getting jealous. Man, he ain't nothing but a carpenter's son. Man, shut up. They start to get jealous. They start to investigate your life. Where did he come from? Who his family is? Who his Isha is? Who his Nashim is? Where his children at? Where they want to know everything about you. And you know what they're looking for? Is this not a carpenter's son? Let me go look up his carpenter's son. See, he got his other brother. He ain't nothing. Is this not his mother called Maureen? They're going to look you up. They're going to look at the mother name, the father name. They're going to look at the children's name. Everybody getting jealous now. And are not his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judah? They're coming after your family. I'm telling you, man. They coming after your family. And are not his sisters with us? Yeah. And are not all his sisters with us? Notice that. They're looking for you now. They're like, hold up, where you get all that knowledge from? Hold up, who your family is? And it says, where then did this man get all these things? see, that's a problem. See, what they thought, he ain't had no possessions. Now, you know how people got all these possessions and natural things. So they looking at, okay, so how you get all that wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and you get all these things, you ain't got no money. What? How you got all this treasure in your Qahalath, in your Aydah, right? You got it in your Arun, in your ark. How do you got all these things inside of there, these treasures? You get what he said? And they took offense at him. The same word. Scandalizo. They took offense. They want to entrap him. They want to scandalize him. They want to entice him to sin. That's what they're going to try to get him to do. They want him to sin. When you start to get that wisdom and understanding, they want you to sin. They are offended by the fact that you even around them or you even speaking. They are mad, upset. And you know why they getting upset? Because they want to get inside Yahushua's mind. Because as soon as they get inside of his mind, what happens to him? His love gonna wax cold. He ain't gonna want to get on that cross. He gonna be like, man, let these people die. Right? That's the only reason. Get what it says. But Yahushua said, a Nabi is not with honor except in his hometown and in his own household. He said, man, I'll never get any honor with y'all. Once they get to that point where they're offended, don't even try to get honor from them. He's like, man, ain't no way in the world. These people ain't gonna acknowledge what I just said, even if I did it 1,000 times. And he did not do many mighty works there because of their unbelief. So when people get offended and have offenses, they don't believe. That's why they go after other gods. That's why they worship other gods. That's why they try to get you to sin. That's why they entice you to sin. That's why they betray you. That's why they scandalize you. Because they don't believe. They got unbelief. But guess what? Right, this Proverbs 19, 1 through 16. Let me get out of here. Better is the poor person who walks his integrity than the one who is crooked in speech and is a fool. He said, it's better the poor. Why do you think Yahushua said, foxes have a hole, birds of the air have nests, but the son of Adam had nowhere to lay his head? But it said, desire without knowledge is not good. So when he said the kingdom of Shamayim is like a field. He said, man, he had a treasure, he buried it, and he bought the whole field. Because he desired it. He's like, man, it's like a man who had a pearl, man. And whoever makes haste with his feet misses his way. He said, when you start moving too fast, you're going to miss a step. You ain't never ran that fast before, huh? Have you? You notice how people who be trained in running fast can move fast in certain tight spots and things, but people who just immediately just start running all fast, they be stumbling and stuff. They ain't never had that type of control before. He said, man, you might not want to go that fast. You gonna miss the way. You know how he say you gonna miss the way, right? You gonna miss it. You know how it is. You on another way. There's many ways. He say, stay in the ways and see. You gonna miss them all. You running so fast. You gonna stumble all over them. And that's why people jump from name to name to name to name, and you know what happens? And then they stumble in every single one of them. When a man's folly brings his way to ruin, his heart rages against Yahuwah. See, when you start to sin, you worship other gods. You worship the idols. You built the golden calf. You the one who, y'all quarreling and fighting. Y'all with the robbers. You once swindled, extorted, and did all that. You committed adultery. You, man or woman, you did that. You did that. You can't rage against Yahuwah after that. You getting punished. It's like, Cain, why you upset, Cain? Hold up. I'm the one upset. You shouldn't be upset at all. That's what happens, though. Wealth brings many new friends. It do. And they all want to take everything you got. They want your money. They want your friendship. That's all they want. They're a new friend. But a poor man is deserted by his friend. When you ain't got no money, nobody want nothing to do with you. When you got no currency, when you become poor, why do you think Yahushua was deserted by all his disciples? They say, smite the shepherd and the sheep gonna scatter. Man, that man was poor. That man was gone. Man, they took him and everybody went home. They deserted him by his friend. He said, you are my friends. For whatsoever my father showed me, I showed to you. Isn't what he said to him? A false witness will not go unpunished. Uh-oh. That's why when people get offended, Or he say, when they cause offenses to you, that you may get offended, you're going to find yourself, they're going to be false witnesses against you. They're going to be the scandalizing people. Right? You're going to deal with them. And he who breathes out lies will not escape. He say, man, who's going to get you? It's not a matter of if, but when. Because he going to get you now. Many seek the favor of a generous man, right? Anybody, right? You generous. And everyone is a friend to the man who gives gifts. Why do you think Yahushua said he ascended up on high and gave gifts to men? He said, everybody want to be his friend. You got a gift. Give me that gift that you get a Ruach Kadash to lay hands on. How much money I got to pay you? He said, man, you got to pray to Yahuwah. He forgive you your sin. He'll take all your money in a second. All a poor man's brothers hate him. And when you go broke, when you poor, he said, all your brothers hate you. I don't care what you say. When they say hate, that means they love you less. They don't love you like when you have money. They ain't calling you no more. They ain't checking on you no more. When you ain't paying all their stuff, nobody care about you no more. They all hate you. And you feel lonely when you're like, man, nobody calling me no more because you ain't got no more money. How much more do his friends go far from him? He's like, your friends and man, when you poor, I'm telling you, nobody want nothing to do with you. Everybody want to find out what you got, where you live, everything when you got everything. When you ain't got nothing, nobody don't want to care. Then they turn back. It's like Yahushua in Mizraim when Herod, he said, Herod ain't seeking your life no more. You can go back. Right? When you rich, that's what you're going to have to do. They ain't seeking your life no more because they want your stuff. What do you think Herod was seeking after before? They wanted his stuff. They wanted to destroy him. He pursues them with words, but does not have them. He, poor man talking with his debar. They despise him. That's why you think Yahushua said, why do you think Yahushua pursuing everybody with these words? But does not have them because they ain't going to come. They ain't going to do it. They come as your people. They hear your word, but they're not going to do it. Whosoever gets sense loves his own soul. See, this is all it's about, getting sense. But he who loves his own soul, he who keeps understanding will discover good. Here, we almost finished. But a false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will perish. Why do you think Yahushua cried out twice? How many false witnesses they brought? They just said this twice. They had brought 2 false witnesses against Yahushua. That's how precise that whole thing was. What do you think happened to the 2 false witnesses? Be like, yeah, they're alive. Why do you think he was between 2 thieves? And amazingly, you got false witness at verse 9. Then you got false witness at verse 5. But look in the middle, right? They hated me without a cause. You got all that in the middle of it. And he even sent out his words, and he don't even got it. In between 2 false witnesses. Verse 10, it is not fitting for a fool to live in luxury. What's the good of having luxury? He said, you a fool. Much less for a slave to rule over princes. It's not even, he said, it's not fitting. But guess what? Good sense makes one slow to anger. This is what I want. And when you get good sense, they're going to make you slow to anger, especially when people try to offend you. When they try to create offenses in your life and try to make your love grow cold. When they try to create things in your heart and entice you to sin. When they scandalize you and cause offenses in your life by saying things out of their mouth they should not say. Good sense makes one slow to anger. You got to get good sense and be slow to anger in those situations. And it is his kabod to overlook offense. But it says it is his glory to overlook an offense. Because you got to overlook the offenses that they do. You have to pardon the offenses that they do. We just read all these pardons that Yahuwah was giving throughout this whole thing. You got to pardon their offenses so that you won't be offended. Because if you get offended by their offenses and you don't overlook them, And you're going to be angry. Matter of fact, you ain't going to have no good sense. So that word for good sense is sakal. Sakal. It means insight, understanding. So you got to get understanding, good sense, intelligence. You don't have good intelligence if you allow that to happen. You ain't going to have no success. Success is understanding and wise and wisdom. What did he say about it? He said, Yahushua, where did he get all this wisdom from? Because he had good sense. It was slow to anger. That word for slow is arak. To be alone, to prolong, to grow long, continue long, to lengthen, long. I mean, you ain't getting, you know how long that take for you to get angry? Man, it take a long time for me to get angry. Long, right? You gotta be like that. But guess what? Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense. That word for glory is tikfarah. It is tikfarah. It is his tikfarah to overlook an offense. It is his beauty, splendor, beauty, finery. So you want to be beautiful? The Kabbalah of the tikfarah is to overlook. So to be beautiful is to overlook offenses. To rank, renown, the boasting, individual is an ornament. We talked about an ornament on your throat, your gogoroth. Honor, majesty, it is your majesty. You know, he said your majesty, your honor. He said a Nabi don't get honor unless it's in his own household. Because remember, it offended them. Right? Remember, they were offended by it. But it would have been their tikfarah to get that out of their mind, though, about Yahushua Mashiach. But, you know, they kept going and kept it in their heart and their mind, and Satan filled their heart and their mind. It was easy for them to kill Yahushua after that with them false witnesses. Right, so you see that same word, tikfarah, we talked about this during the first Pasach. Yeshayahu 52, 1 through 8. But it says, or, because you know that word is awake. Put on your strength, your eyes, O Saum, put on your tikfarah. Which means you got to put on your tikfarah to overlook offenses. And you got to be slow to anger and have intelligence. That is your tikfarah. It's in the center of your body. That's your tikfarah. Right? So that word for overlook is a bar. And you have to see it. That's why they say, or, put on eyes, put on strength, Saum, put on your tikfarah. You got to see it. You have to see this. You know, I say you have to see this. It means to pass over. That's what this is. What do you think this is? This is a second Pasach. He's passing over your offenses. He's literally overlooking your offenses. They didn't put it in the Qahalath Kudrum. They didn't properly cleanse themselves. You didn't do that. They didn't do that. Nobody did it. He already know that. So he's overlooking your offenses again. And again. And again. And again. It means to pass through, to transverse. Overflow. It also means to advance. It means to cause to pass beyond, under, let pass. Any transition, right? All that's a part of it, right? It means to carry over, right? So that word for offense is pesha. So he tikfarah, and he overlooks pesha. He overlooks your transgression, your rebellion. As Yahuwah forgives. That's what it says. As Yahuwah deals with. As recognized by a sinner. Transgression against Yahuwah. He overlooks it. Punishment of transgression. Offering of a revolt. moral or religious, sin, he overlooks all of that. That's his ChayParach, and that should be yours. That should be your ChayParach. Or you're going to be offended. You're going to be ensnared. In your heart and your mind, you're going to be thinking about all the scandalizing, evil things somebody done. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to lose all your beauty. Your ChayParach. You're going to be looking old. You're going to age fast. That's what's going to happen. So, it's better to overlook it, what they do. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble. This is 1 Corinthians 3, 10 through 19. According to the command of Yahuwah given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid the foundation and someone else is building upon it. Let each of one take care how he builds upon it. For no one can lay a foundation other than that which is laid, which is Yahushua Mashiach. What foundation you want to build on? The one foundation where you get killed immediately? I assure you, none of us will be here right now. Now, if anyone builds on the foundation, gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, you're making your idols, because that's what he's talking about. Each one's work will become manifest. He said, don't even conceal it. For the day will disclose it. It's going to come up because it will be revealed by fire. Now you see why your hand got to be first upon it. And that fire will test what sort of work each one has done. That's what's happening now. And if the work that anyone has built on the foundation survives, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burnt up, he will suffer loss. I assure you will. Though he himself will be saved, but only through fire. Do you not know that you are Yahuwah's temple? And that Yahuwah's Ruach dwells within you? If anyone destroys Yahuwah's temple, how can you destroy Yahuwah's temple? Worshipping idols, not cleansing it properly, quarreling, fighting, scandalizing, betraying people. That's how you get your temple destroyed. False witness. How you think the other temple got destroyed? Offering to any other Elohim other than Yahuwah. Destruction. Abominations. Making desolation. Just by your behavior, the temple will be destroyed. Why did Yahuwah split the temple in two the first time? Yahushua did when he cried out. Why there were earthquakes and famines? Because of the behaviors that are taking place inside the temple. Why do you think he took a whip and beat out the animals and the people? And he was left alone. Yahuwah will destroy him. Now you see why Yahuwah is going to destroy you. Now you say, if any man entice you, man, woman, child, mother, father, clan, group, it don't matter who they are. And they secretly entice you to serve other gods and worship them and turn away your heart from serving Yahuwah. He said, your eyes should not pity them, neither shall you spare them. For what? But you shall destroy them. The very same thing that Yahuwah is going to do with the Deborah. For Yahuwah's temple is Qahalath. That's the whole point. He's trying to keep your body, your temple, Qahalath, from being offended. Think about it. You have somebody in your house or somebody worshiping idols, right? Literally got a big old shrine in the corner room. You know what you're going to do? Yeah, it's okay. No, you're going to have to throw that junk out, break it down, get a sludge hammer, break it, right? You got to do something. Or you're going to look at you like, so you really don't love me like that, do you? This is where it comes at. For you are that temple. So what do you think? You think Yahuwah want that? When they put the other idol next to the Ark of the Covenant, what happened to that idol? He broke that thing. Yahuwah tore that thing down. The arms and the legs, everything broke down. So what do you think he's looking at when somebody kid next to you with an idol in their heart? And you got the Aron with the Aydah with the couple rows on top, and they put themselves right next to you and they want to be with you. How do you think Yahuwah looking at that person? So you like being next to them, and they next to you, and you carrying the Aron of Yahuwah, and they're next to you, and you're sitting Matter of fact, you guys are getting married. So your hand is not going to be first upon them. You know they're worshiping idols, and you're not going to say anything. So how do you think Yahuwah looking at you? Think about it. He's going to destroy that person. Mentally, however it may be. Verse 18, let no one deceive himself. So you is deceiving you. You enticing your own self. That's why sin is created. A man is, Yahuwah don't entice nobody. A man is enticed when he is led away in his own lust, or woman. And then that enticement, it creates sin. That's why you worship idols, other gods, fornication, adultery, lying. You scandalize and you falsely accuse, you slander. You gossip, you lie. You turn small things great. You turn the little speck into a 7-8 year slander fast, gossip fast. Who did that? And you know what they're trying to do? Create an offended, make you offended in them, make you think about them, and you being trapped and ensnared in your mind with their junk. And that's what it's all about. Guess what? If anyone among you thinks he is wise in his age, let him become a fool that he may become wise, right? For the wisdom of this world is folly with Yahuwah. For it is written, he catches the wise in his craftiness and his enticing. And again, Yahuwah knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are futile, they are worthless. So let no one boast in men or women, for all things are yours, right? Whether Paul, Shaul, Cephas, and the world, and life, and death, and the present, future, and all are yours. And you are Mashiach's, and Mashiach is Yahuwah, right? This is Yuchanan 16, 12 through 15. I have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them or answer them now. When the Ruach of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth, for he will not speak of his own authority, but whatsoever he hears, he will speak. And he will declare to you things to come, and he will kabod me, for he will take what is mine and declare it to you. All that the Father has is mine, and therefore he will take what is mine and declare it to you. This is 4Q 257, Dead Sea Scrolls. These are the paths in the world and enlighten the heart of Adam. Straighten out in front of him all the paths of true justice. Right? That's all this is about. True judgment. Establish in the heart respect for the precepts of Elohim and the Ruach of meekness, Aydah, and patience and generous compassion and eternal goodness and intelligence, understanding and potent wisdom with trust in all the deeds of Elohim. So all these things that we observe, even the second Pasach, it's all about the deeds of Elohim. It depends on his abundant mercy, his pardon. It's infinite mercy. You want his tranquility, his peace. A ruach of knowledge in all the plans of action, of enthusiasm and decrees of justice and set apart plans and firm purpose with generous compassion with all the sons of truth, of magnificent purity which detests all unclean idols, for you are that temple. Of careful behavior and wisdom concerning everything. Where did he get all this wisdom? Isn't he not the carpenter's son? Isn't he not his brothers and sisters right here? His mother Maureen. Right? And it says, of careful behavior and wisdom concerning everything, of concealment concerning the truth of the mysteries of the knowledge. These are the foundations of the spirits, the ruachs, of the sons of truth in the world. And the reward of those who walk in it will be healing. Why do you think Mushal was like, Yahuwah, we've done foolishly? And not Maureen, we have done foolishly. Heal her, please heal her. Plentiful peace and long life. That's all it's about. Fruitful offspring and everlasting barak with eternal enjoyment, endless life, and the chronic abode and majestic raiment, eternal life. However, the ruach of deceit belongs greed. Sluggishness in the service of justice, right? That's why your hand got to be upon him. That person quit. You can't conceal him. Wickedness, falsehood, pride, haughtiness of heart, dishonesty, trickery, cruelty, much insecurity. These are all what you call offenses. Scandalizers, right? Much insecurity, impatience, much foolishness, impudent enthusiasm for appalling acts performed in a lustful passion, filthy past in the service of impurity, blasphemous tongue, blindness of eyes, hardness of hearing, stiffness of neck, right? How many times you don't read that in the Torah? You be like, hardness of heart in order to walk in the paths of darkness and evil cunning, so they can betray you and entice you and lead you astray. That's all it's about. And the visitation of those who walk in it will be abundance affliction by the hand of the Malachia destruction. For Yahuwah, you are the temple. Him that destroyed the temple of Yahuwah, Yahuwah will destroy you. And eternal damnation and scorching wrath of Elohim that revenges a permanent terror and shame without end and humiliation of the destruction of the dark regions. In all the ages of their generations, they shall spend in bitter weeping and harsh evils in the abyss of darkness until there be no remnant or survival for them. Right, skipping over there, this is Psalms 116 and 13. I will lift up the cup of Yeshua, and call on the name of Yahuwah. Right, that's salvation. I will pay my vows to Yahuwah in the presence of all his people. Precious in the sight of Yahuwah is the death of his faithful ones, his kind ones. Right, his kind ones. Yahuwah, I am your Abad. That's like Mashah. I am your Abad, the son of your maidservant. That's what Yahushua was. And he loosed my bonds, and I will offer to you a sacrifice of thanksgiving and call upon the name of Yahuwah. I will pay my vows to Yahuwah in the presence of all his peoples in the courts of the house of Yahuwah. O Jerusalem, praise Yahuwah. Right, the word for salvation is Yeshua. It means salvation, welfare, prosperity, deliverance, salvation, victory, prosperity. Hence, aid, victory, deliverance, saved, something saved. Right? That's what it's about. Right? So that word for saints, Kadashim, is Kasid. It means faithful ones, kind ones. He said the kind ones, right? This is Talim, Psalm 32, 6-9. Therefore, let everyone who is Kasid, kind, offer prayer to you at the time you may be found. That's why he give you a second Pasach. When Yahuwah Tukah, that's his kindness. He remember you with the will. He may purify you. Surely, in the rush of great waters, they shall not reach him. And no matter how many floods you bring. They ain't going to reach me because the house is found on the rock. You can send 100,000 people with slander, gossip, lying, scandalizing, betrayal. You can send 2 million, right? They can come, it ain't going to reach me though. He said a wise man builds a house on the rock. He get intelligence. He overlook offenses. His tikfarah, his beauty is to overlook pasha, right? It's rebellion. You get that intelligence, it's like their flesh. Right? Your hiding place from me. You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with shouts of deliverance. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. That's why he's doing it. My ayin. Be not like a horse and a mule without understanding. You want to have intelligence, which must be curbed and bear bits and bridle and will not stay near you. The word for godly is kasid, faithful, kind, kudash one, faithful ones, right? Let them offer prayer at the acceptable time, right? Psalms 37 and 1. Psalm 37, 7-11. Be still before Yahuwah, wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in the way. He said, don't get angry. The man who carries out evil devices is a betrayal, scandalous person, enticing, leading people astray, worshiping idols. Refrain from anger, because you got intelligence now. Overlook the offense. Forsake wrath. Fret not yourself, it tends only to evil. You will create evil. It's going to create, you're going to be ensnared. You're going to be ensnared in your mind, in your heart, in your mind. You're going to be offended. And then you're going to get jealous and envious like those people were getting ready to do with Yahushua Mashiach. What they getting ready to do? Isn't he the carpenter's son? Where did he get all that from? Right, that's going to be you. And you're going to turn into them. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait for Yahuwah shall inherit the Aydah. So which one you want? Just a little while, the wicked will be no more. Though you look carefully at his place, he will not be there. But the meek, the Aydah, shall inherit the Aydah and delight themselves in the abundance of shalom. And word for meek is Aydah. It's an ayin, right? It means to be humble, afflicted, meek, lowly, meek, poor, afflicted. That's the whole point. This is Nazarene action to Shalakim, how demons get power with men. Therefore, demons, as we have just said, once they have been able by means of opportunities afforded them to convey themselves with base and evil actions to the bodies of men, women, and children, they remain in them a long time through their own negligence. Because they do not seek after what is profitable for their inner beings. They necessarily compel them in the future to fulfill the desires of the demons that dwell in them. So when you start to see the things that people do, the behaviors, it's a demon on the inside of you. That's causing you to fulfill the desire of that demon that's inside of you. That's why that behavior is there. That's why you get drained. Your energy get drained. They give off a vibrational frequency. They suck your energy out like a parasite. That's what they do. They make you tired. They suck the life out of you because they want to use that energy that you have, that little bit of whatever you have on the inside, and it's feeding them, and it gives them, and they have to, that craving has to be created. But what is worst of all, at the end of the age, when the demon is co-signed the ageless fire, of necessity the Ruach also that obeyed him, with him will be tortured in ageless fires together with this body it has polluted. Because it's polluted your body. It could be bitterness. And this caused trouble. It could be something someone said out of their mouth. Just like Marim said to Mashah. Her name meant bitter. Because it's polluted you. Because many have become defiled, a root of bitterness, and it caused trouble. That's what causes trouble, bitterness. That's what causes trouble in the household. It could cause trouble inside of your body and your mind. Insecurity. Insecurity is the same thing. That's a demon too. All these are all a part of it. Romans 12:1. I appeal to you, therefore, men and women and children, by the mercy of Yahuwah, you present your bodies a living sacrifice, Qahalath, and acceptable to Yahuwah, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of Yahuwah, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Because you know what's good and acceptable and perfect, and you know what's not. Philippians 3:12-21. Not that I have already perfect, but I press on to make it my own, because Mashiach has made me his own. I do not consider that I have made it my own, but one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward what's ahead. I press toward the goal of the upward call of Yahushua Mashiach. Let those who are mature think this way, and if in anything you think otherwise, Yahuwah will reveal it also to you. Only let us hold true to what we have attained. Men, women, and children, join in imitating me. Right? Skipping over verse 18. For many of whom I have told you, and now I tell you with tears, walk as enemies the cross of Mashiach. Their end is destruction. Their God, their idol, is their belly. And the kabod is their shame. Guess what? Their mind set on earthly things. Why do you think it was the second Pasach? Why do you think Yahushua fulfilled the second Pasach? Why do you think he cried out twice in totality? Because when they had killed the Pasach lamb again, what happened? Because they never kept it before, all the priests were ashamed. Why do you think Yahushua, Mashiach, died? And was here for 40 days. Trying to convince them that he bore your shame. That he bore your sin. That he carried the totality of the cross. He was trying to get them away from that mindset. By many infallible proofs. Trying to prove to them that all that shame you had, it was me. So they can believe with joy. But they kept setting their mind on earthly things. Animals, the temple, the natural temple. Their mind's so set on this carnal world, they can't even get past it. Verse 20. But our citizenship is in the Shamayim, right? That's what this whole first Pasach is. That's what the Pasach is. It's the first call, Muad. You need to be registered in the Shamayim. And from it we await the Savior, Yahushua Mashiach, the Master Yahushua Mashiach, who will transform our lowly body body to be like his Aydah, his magnificent body, by the power that enables him to subject all things to himself. Romans 8, 6 through 11. For to set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the Ruach is life and peace. Skipping to verse 10. But if Mashiach Yahushua is in you, although the body is dead because of sin, the Ruach of life, the Ruach is life because of righteousness. If the Ruach of him who raised Yahushua from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Mashiach Yahushua from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through his Ruach who dwells in you. Right, this is Romans chapter 13 and 12, skipping to verse 12. So Yahushua also suffered outside the gate in order to sanctify the people through his own blood. Now you see why they cast Marim out. He said, why you did that for 7 days? Therefore, let us go to him outside and bear the reproach he endured. He said, they waited for Marim until she got healed. Through him, let us continually offer the sacrifice of praise to Yahuwah. That is the fruit of our lips, and acknowledge his name. Do not neglect to do good and share what you have. Share. For such sacrifices is pleasing to Yahuwah. So, praise, doing good, and sharing. You want to please Yahuwah? Praise, do good, and share. This is Psalm Talim 119, 160 through 166. Thy bar is truth from the beginning, and every one of thy righteous judgments endure forever. Princes have persecuted me without a cause, but my heart stand in awe of thy debar. I rejoice at thy word as one that findeth great spoil, like a pearl, like a field. I hate and abhor lying, but the law, the Turah, do I love. Sheba times a day do I praise halal thee because of your righteous judgments. Right? So you praise 7 times a day, 7 times 7, that's 49. Now you see why Yahushua was trying to get people in this mindset for 49 days to the 50th day. Because once you get in this mindset, there's no turning it off. And then you have being perfect shalom. Verse 165. Great shalom have they that love thy Torah, and nothing shall offend them. Uh-oh. Because you got intelligence. Why would nothing offend you? Because now you got intelligence. You got your teeth ferrado. You overlooking Pasach, right? You know what happens after that? You got intelligence. It ain't nothing gonna offend you. He's like, it ain't offending me no more. It's not going to offend me. Even if somebody has all the wisdom and all the knowledge, right? You shouldn't get offended. You shouldn't. Or you're going to be like those people. Yahuwah, I have hope for thy Yeshua, thy salvation, and done thy commandments. Right? He say, done them. That's why they be doers, right? This is Aleph Yuchanan 1, 2, 24. Aleph Yuchanan 2, 24 to 28. Let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. And if what you heard from the beginning abides in you, then you too will abide in the Son, the life of the house, and the Father, the strength of the house. And this is the promise he has made to us, eternal life. I write these things about those who are trying to deceive you, entice you. But the anointing you received of him abides in you, and you have no need that anyone should teach you. But as his anointing teaches you about everything and is true, it is no lie, just as it has taught you, abide in him. And now, little children, abide in him, so that when he appears, you may have confidence and not shrink from him in shame at his coming. Because Yahushua bore our shame. You shouldn't. You shouldn't, right? So this is the last thing, Sirach 3, 17 through 23. My son and daughter, go on thy business in Anu. So should I be beloved of him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. And thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. Many are in high places of renown, but mystery is revealed unto the meek. For the power of Yahuwah is great and honor with the lowly. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search for things that are above thy strength. Don't. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed unto thee than men and women and children understand. Right, so I know I said I forgot about this one. This is the Old Testament Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1. Volume 1. Volume 1 and verse. This is the fourth book of Ezra, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1, chapter 16, and verse. This fourth book of Ezra, chapter 16, and verse 4. 16 and verse 40. 16 and 40. Hear my words, O my people, prepare for battle, and in the midst of the calamities, be like strangers on the earth. Let him that sells be like one who will flee. Let him who buys be like one who will lose. And let him who does business be like one who will not make a profit. And let him that builds a house be like one who will not live in it. And let him that sows be like one who will not reap. So also him that prunes a vines, let one who will not gather the grapes. Let them that marry like those who have no children, and them that do not marry like those that are will. Because those who labor in vain, for strangers shall gather their fruits and plunder their goods and overthrow their houses and take their children captive in captivity and famine, and they shall beget their children, and they will beget their children. Those who conduct business do it only to be plundered, and those that adorn their cities, their houses, possessions, and their possessed persons, the more angry I will be with them for their sins, says Yahuwah of hosts. Why? Because they won't repent. They won't turn from the evil. So therefore, why are you doing all of that? Just as a respectable and virtuous woman abhors a harlot, it should be that way. So righteousness shall abhor iniquity. Your hands first should be upon it. When she decks herself out, and shall accuse her to her face. When he comes, who will defend him who searches out every sin on earth? And when Yahuwah come back, he gonna search everything out. In that little house, all the things you own ain't gonna really mean anything. Right, this is the last thing, that scene truth of peace. That scene of peace, page 265. This is the Essene communions, right? So this is the fifth evening after the Shabbat. Say these things, right? So this is the fifth day, right? And this evening time too. Malachi of love descend on me. Why? Because your love on wax cold. Amazingly, right? And fill with love all my feelings. And we just talked about the feelings of being offended. Fill with love, all my feelings. For it is by love that the heavenly Father, or Shamayim Father, and the earthly mother and the son of Adam become one. Love is eternal. Love is stronger than death. Ahaba. And every night should the sons of light bathe in Qahalath water of the Malachi of love. Every night. That with the morning he may immerse the sons of men with kind deeds and gentle words. So the Malachi of love, you should always have love, ahaba, on the inside. So when you rise, just like a plant rises from the ground, from the dew, you will rise with kind words and kind deeds and gentle words. And he creates a pattern of love. But if you focus on the offense, and then, what happens, these scandalizing things, and people, and you're ensnared in your mind, then it becomes, that's what you're thinking about, and you're awake with all types of things you shouldn't have. But guess what it says? For when the heart of the sons of light is bathed in a love, ahaba, only kind and gentle words speak forth. So we look at all that. We look at Yahushua Mashiach. We look at the light of life. We look at the patterns of love, the patterns of life, and his tranquility, and his infinite compassion, and his infinite forgiveness. For he, even when he goes to sleep in Ahaba, he wakes with gentle words, and he awakes with kind deeds. And when he arose from the grave, he awoke with gentle words and kind deeds. And he still cared for people. And he said, why are you weeping? Right? Even he came and he even broke bread and even explained to them and talked to them all day. But these are all a part of his compassion and his humility, because he must work the work while it's day. But when night comes, nobody can work. And when the night comes, you better bathe yourself in a haba. So when the morning comes, you have gentle words, and you be as loving and kind deeds when you awake. So we look at everything that happens and everything that's going to happen. And the love and compassion he extended to us a second time. For the first man, Adam, was a living soul. But this second Adam was a life-giving Ruach. So first it was natural, then Ruach. For he wants a living sacrifice with the life-giving Ruach on the inside. That when you speak, you may speak life, Kaya, in the world. So we look at these things, look at everything that's happened, and we look at all the things that's going to happen. He said, my son and daughter, go on thy business, Aydah, so shall be beloved of him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. Thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. Many are in high places and renown, but mysteries revealed to the meek, the Aydah. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek, the Aydah, shall inherit the Aydahs. Pray right quick.